You sneaky. You're running as an outsider.
I am an outsider.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Come on. Come on. Really?
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly.
Let's give the people what they came for.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows up.
Elbows up.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Ready? Are you ready? Get them out of here! Get them out of here! Get the hell out of here!
Enough with the woke shit?
So the answer to that is to stop being stupid.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
Is the federal government stealing from us? Are they sabotaging our industry? Are they taking us down the path to communism? Are they censoring us? Are they stealing our guns from us? Come on, let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Forge here on Monday nights on the channel. What a show we have lined up for you guys tonight. We got a lot to discuss, a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be a wonderful show. We have the most Albertan cowboy, we'll say, in the world coming onto this show. Next to my co-host, Mike, of course, Jeff Rath will be joining us tonight to talk about what is happening with the... Well, with the whole vote in October. We're going to be talking to Jeff about a lot of different things that are happening tonight. We're going to talk to him about Tom Lukaszuk now signing up for a TPA and a bunch of numerous other things, while all trying to get to the news and everything going on in the political world. So just like always, folks, we'll have some Q&A with Jeff. All Q&As or all super chats will take priority. If you guys want to ask Jeff a question tonight, they'll all be donated towards our veterans. Or actually, you know what? I'll donate them towards the referendum process. How about that? Since it's Jeff, we'll donate towards the referendum process. So all super chats tonight going towards the referendum process. So get your super chats in. Please, nothing about Jeff's wife in the super chats. I will not acknowledge those supers tonight. I will pass any feelings or messages on to Jeff. I'll ask him to come back and watch the chat after the show. I don't think he wants to make that a public forum, so we will not be publicly acknowledging anything about that tonight in the stream. But if you have any questions about the October 19th vote, the process we're in right now, or anything for Jeff Rath, throw it up in a super chat. It will take priority. But nonetheless, folks, we couldn't get this show started without my hetero life mate, Mike. Welcome back to the show, brother. It's good to have you here. How you doing?
Thanks, guys. I'm glad to be here as usual. This is going to be a hell of a marathon night. I'm really excited. We got a ton of stuff to go through, and I was making myself giggle before the show for the idea that I'm going to try and convince Jeff to start another TPA, and that with every donation, we'll get your name spray painted on a box of TNT while we blow up one of the three sisters into Mount Rathmore.
Mount Rathmore is definitely something needed when we gain our independence. Let's get a roll call. Let's get a roll call going on tonight in the chat, folks. Let me know where you're watching. If it's your first time here, we just gained a ton of subscribers, by the way. If it's your first time here, let us know where you're watching from. And let's get it going on. Look, Matt's jumping in right away from his undisclosed bunker in Manitoba. Matt will be here next week. It's going to be good to have him in the studio once again. Looking forward to that. We got John coming in from Alberta and Rimby. Thank you for joining us, D. Robert. I always say DR. D. Robert. Dan coming in from Chicago. Welcome in. The Bears. We love you. Hockey fans coming in from Calgary. We've got THA Corpse Both actually, WoW and Avenger. Don't know what that means. John B coming in from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome in. We've got Doug coming in from the wet city of Spruce Grove in the future Free Republic of Alberta. We got Mystic Meow coming in from Calgary. We've got Derek. He's coming in from a Roach Motel. Come on. Carol and Gerald are coming in from Calgary once ahead. Mr. The Dog Gaming coming in from Nampa, Idaho. Welcome in. It's good to have Sean in from Spruce Grove as well. David Brewer's joining us from Springfield, Missouri as well. Lori Patterson's coming in from Spruce Grove as well. A lot of Sprucers tonight. I'm glad to see that. Love seeing that. We're going to talk about Spruce Grove early on in the show, in fact. We got Mystical joining us on the roof. Welcome. It's good to have you back. Other Mystical is coming in from Ohio in the USA. I love our American viewers. Look, we've even got Harold. Look at Harold coming in from good old Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin. It's a wonderful state. The good old state of Wisconsin. Welcome in. Enjoy your cheese. Phoebe Long coming in from Innisfail as well. We got Greg coming in from Provost. We have Mile High Mopar coming in from Calgary once again. We have Harley Squirrel Nuts coming in from Rocky Mountain House. Lynn's joining us from Calgary. Edward's coming in from Calgary. Sarah King from Vegreville. Donald's coming in from Wisconsin. Mike's joining us from the wonderful state of Oklahoma. Hellcat's Boy coming in from Texas. God, we love Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. John B from Phoenix. Squids coming in from Cowtown. John's Mason coming in from Rinby. Oh, you know what? Shout out to Squid today. I actually used one of his images for today's thumbnail. So thank you to Squid for that. Laura Workman coming in from Tabor. We've got Ivy Hayes coming in from Coronation, Alberta as well. Alberta Radio's coming in from Edmonton in the house. He had a great video. Alberta Radio had a great video today about Elections Alberta being compromised. And you know what? Like I said, it might be a little bit of a longer show tonight, folks. We'll try and get that video in. I'll try and queue it up if I can remember to while Jeff's in here chatting. Matrix is coming in from Barhead as well. KG coming in from Smoky Lake. Brad from Calgary, and Archangel coming in from Victoria, BC, sending greetings. Guys, I have to stop the roll call there because we got a lot to cover before Jeff comes in. Look at Max is coming in with a $50 super right out of the gates, watching from Chilliwack, working on paperwork in Vancouver. Grandma from out of the country passed away. Oh God, I'm so sorry to hear. See you guys in Calgary at the Canyon Meadows Town Hall tomorrow. Max, I will definitely catch that live stream. Thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry for your loss. Shout out to Max. Guys, go follow him over on freedomcalendar.net. Yeah. He does great streams, everything you want to know about independence. They're all the live streams of the town halls, things like that. You want to see those. Glad to see you're going to be in Canyon Meadows. Calgary definitely needs some more events. Allie coming in with a $2 super as well with the purring. Oh, the unit.
And the Unity bus is just purring.
Oh, God, it's so creepy. Raptor guy with a $2 super. Bye-bye, Starmer. Yeah, he left. I'm so excited he left. That's awesome. Kevin coming in. What's the last date the referendum question can be changed to a Clarity Act compliant binding referendum on independence? Let me try and see if I can remember to ask Jeff that when he comes.
Yeah.
Constitutional lawyer. He will probably know more than I would. Let's get straight down to the nitty gritty. I'd mentioned earlier we had to talk about Spruce Grove, so we'll start with Spruce. Spruce Grove, Stony Plain MLA, Cyril Turton came out today to announce he doesn't like his job anymore. I'm a proud Canadian, and I'm proud that Alberta is part of Canada. Our country's not perfect, but no family ever is. I remain committed to making sure that this Canadian family that we have continues to be supported. Essentially, he put out a big letter that he's going to make sure we don't get a binding referendum in this province. He's going to vote to remain in Canada on October 19th, just like all the UCP are doing, because he doesn't like his job anymore. He wants to be replaced. Now, I live in Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, in their riding. So I put out and I said it was satire. I put out a satirical post. I said, well, folks, seems this MLA is telling you I won't allow Alberta to have a voice in a binding referendum because I like the gravy train I ride on. Since he's in Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, what say you, Alberta? Should the Fringe run against him in the next election and bring some change to Parkland County? LOL. P.S. This is satire. I have no desire to work with the government unless it's in Alberta Republic. However,
the comments got carried away.
The comments came in right. Jeff Rath comes in. I thought Pride Dude was planning on running in Spruce Grove. I'll support whatever pro-independence candidate is running against him. I didn't know Alberta Pride Dad or what Alberta Pride Dad. Now I'm quoting Jeff. I didn't know Alberta Proud Dad was running. Lawrence was running in Spruce Grove. I don't know why he would, because I said he doesn't live in or around here. There must be some confusion. Other people just do it. Yes, you should. The independence movement will come out and campaign for you. Yes. Perfect. Let's smoke them all out. Look at Dwight saying, do it now.
You know what? Honestly, Derek, I'm down with this. As long as you run on a very OSB platform, I think we'll take it home. I mean, I will go canvassing door to door for you.
I don't know, man. I don't think I'm MLA material. I don't know. Would we be able to keep the channel if I was an MLA? I would hope so. I mean, we'd still want to do YouTube. I make just as good a living on YouTube as I would as an MLA.
In the government.
Like, do I really want to? I mean, the only benefit's a pension, but I don't want government money. I don't want to take money from the taxpayers. I don't know, man. Yikes. It's
I don't know if Danielle Smith will endorse you now to take his position.
I highly doubt she wouldn't. Look, Steve Jensen's coming in with the $10 super. Chris Scott and I and others are working on something to answer the freaky furry purry mobile. Oh no. Oh, that's scary.
Make it the 18 band. Make it the 18 band.
I pity the fool that don't vote for independence. Brad Wilcox, $2. Yes, you are. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it was good. Little announcement too for independence. Let's get it out here early in the stream. Our shirts go on sale again. I was just notified. For anybody who missed the sale on Friday, every item in our shop goes on sale tomorrow, starting June 23rd. Every item in the shop, 20% off for an entire week. So from the 23rd until the 30th, you guys can head over, grab your merch. We're not taking any profits again from these items. Our Alberta First Send the Message human billboard shirts are available on there still with the top 10 reasons Alberta would benefit from leaving Canada. We seen a massive wave of these shirts in Sundry on the weekend. Everybody was wearing them. It was so cool to see everybody wearing them out in full force. Go and grab your shirts, folks. Be a human billboard this summer. We need these in the cities. We need people in the cities wearing these, being proud to voice their opinion on independence. It's essentially free advertising. All proceeds, again, are going to the referendum effort. So buy your shirts, save some money, and I'll be reminding you guys throughout the week. Please forgive me for doing that. I don't like coming across as a grifter, but it's for a good cause. And if they're on sale, I want you guys to save money. So starting tomorrow, make sure you go over to the shop and grab your shirts. Get outfitted.
Look sharp.
Look sharp.
Share the message.
Look
yeah,
real
exactly.
sharp.
Share the message.
Share the message. I'm going to get into Sundry in a minute. But first, Mike, before Jeff comes on, we got to talk about an event that's going on in Calgary. The Calgary Stampede starts usually in a week and a half. And there's quite the stir going on in Calgary this week. But we have a little segment that we run on this channel every week. I think it's time we do it early this week. I think it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for Douche of the Week.
Come on. Really?
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
That's what we need to do, is support each other.
Douche of the Week.
All right, guys, as usual, it is the Monday. The reason why everybody comes here to hang out with us, and it's the famous Unacceptable Fringe Freedom Honey Douche of the Week, where we take your nominees, and I just kind of vet through them and pick someone that I really feel deserve it this week. Now, with the Calgary Stampede, if you guys have never been, it is the greatest show on earth. It's cowboy culture. I mean, the weird food, which is really cool, and it's just a good time. You know, they got the Midway, they got the vendors. It's fun. Honestly, it's fun. Well, of course, the Fun Police had to barge in on Calgary. So this week's nominee, we're gonna give it to Jeremy Farkas himself. Newly instated mayor of Calgary. Honestly, I was a little hopeful when he got elected. I was like, better than Jody Gondek. Man, is he screwing the pooch on this? I mean, between him, the mayor of Red Deer and the human Q-tip out of Edmonton. Very disappointed with the mayor structure, what's happening with the mayors in Alberta right now. Not cool. But this week, everybody got in on this. So essentially what happened is they changed the noise bylaw. Let's see if I have it pulled up here. Okay. I don't really got pulled up. Anyway, so apparently the Calgary Stampede is too noisy for Mayor Jeremy Farkas. And he's decided that we need to change things up and spoil the fun. Calgary Stampede has been around since 1912, and now politicians are gathering or getting their hands on it and starting to lose appeal. Basically, ruining the fun. So they're trying to change the noise bylaws when it comes to like the weeknights, essentially changing it to earlier times and keeping the sound down, everything like that. Is they're saying people are complaining and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm sorry. If you live in or around the Stampede grounds, this is going to happen. Every year it's going to happen. It's going to be noisy for a couple of weeks. Don't ruin the fun. It is what it is. Quit complaining to the city. If you're not happy, go live in the other suburbs. Don't live in the city. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's people just complaining for the sheer act of complaining. Then you got the then you get the fun police coming in here. I mean, everyone chimed in, even Danielle Smith. I mean, some people call it deflection. Some people call it other things. Like, looks like the fun
I think
police.
she's just trying to score brownie points for screwing everybody over.
I think so. Look at the fun police has struck again in Calgary. This time targeting the Calgary Stampede music scene. Anyway, at the end of the day, I had no issues with how it was. I had no issues with, like, people were fine with it for the last 100 years. And all of a sudden now, it's too noisy. We have to tone it down. Boo. Boo on all you people who complain. And boo on everyone who complained about the complaining.
Danielle, if you really want to know about the fun police, just call a binding referendum. Then we'll have some real fun. Then you'll see what real fun looks like.
I'd be good with this. I would be good for this. And honestly,
I'd be okay with
it just proves that, I mean, I hate the mayors. I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate all the big mayors of all the major cities.
Why do we always get communists in the cities? Like, why is it that the rural voters always want like based people, and then the cities get the most woke, deranged, detached from reality people running their cities?
Oh, you got Nancy the Hut running the freaking city like a gangster. You've got Gondik, who was a reject, some Batman villain looking woman. I mean, she dressed like a Batman.
She's not cooperating with the police on the RCMP investigation. She won't give them her phone records.
Exactly. You got this guy, and then you got freaking, like I said, the human Q-tip that controls Edmonton right now with his 15-minute city bullshit. I mean, we fucked up. I think we fucked up.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So anyway, for being, like I said, fun police, everyone's really starting to do a good job of hating you right now. Jeremy Pathfinder Farkas, you are this week's Freedom Honey Unacceptable Fringe Douche of the Week. May your term be very short, and I think there was talks of a recall. Just saying.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they turn that around between now and the Stampede. We'll see. I know, again, Pierre Poilievre tweeted it out. Danielle tweeted it out, so the pressure is definitely there. I don't know if he's going to fold because he's already snapped back at both of them. But we'll see, folks. We'll see where it goes going into Stampede season. I'll be down on the grounds. I want to see everybody wearing those Send the Message shirts with the 10 reasons Alberta should leave Canada on the grounds. I'm not even going to tell you what day I'm going to be there this year, because I want to just be on the grounds and see a sea of them out there. I want to see everybody wearing them. So hopefully you guys have ordered yours. If not, get them on Express and order them now. Let's quickly talk about Sundry. And then we're going to bring in Jeff because he's in the green room waiting to go. The turnout was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal this weekend. In fact, John talking to Albertans was there. I gotta share with you guys. He was
great clips. Absolutely great clips.
He had some great clips. Check out this one that he had. There was a car that went by in the parade. Let's take a look at this one. This is great clip. Great patriots out in Sundry over the weekend. Take a look.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up. From the Edmonton area.
Oh yeah, and you come all the way to Sundry.
Oh, I come around to document kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right, because this is historic. Right, there's Fringe. This is.
There we were in the car. Actually, there's my son Wade. He's throwing out for everybody who knows about my Donald Trump impressions. Hang on, we were out there handing out lollipops, making sure everybody got them. My son Wade, they're throwing out suckers for everybody out on the street. You know, they had a blast. They had an absolute blast. It was such a great event. The people were so happy. The business owners were so happy to see us there. In fact, Here's Igor filming on the way in. We left the card lock just off Highway 27 and Highway 2. This was the line, guys. Over 500 cars showed up, all with their Alberta flags. You saw people driving down this highway on the side range roads, all waving Alberta flags, honking everybody in the way in. The businesses were so thrilled to see everybody there. And this was a real testament of what it means to be Albertan. You know, the town wanted to put their, what is it they say? Bite your thumb at people. They wanted to shut everything down, all because of Alberta flags. Well, we showed, take a look at what Igor had here on the highway. This was us waiting to get into the city limits.
Look how many cars we have for Alberta independence today. Wow. It goes from here and it goes all the way there, and it doesn't stop there too.
So on this highway, and I'll tell you right now, when we were on this highway, we had to go through Olds. And on the highway, it's about 30 kilometers from Olds into Sundre. So it should take about, 15, 20 minutes to drive in. It took us over 45 doing 80 kilometers an hour down this stretch of highway because we had so many vehicles into the parade. In fact, we did our initial run through Sundre for the parade. And as we ended at the end of the parade route, other vehicles were still pouring in. Like the line was that long. It was absolutely insane. So good to see. We were so happy to see so many
good
Alberta
job. This
Patriots
is what I love to see about the Alberta independence movement is everyone comes together. It is unifying. And it's they tried to shut us down, the forever the Albozos and all that stuff. And then this just proves it backfires spectacularly. We get 10 times more press conference. The people I was also watching a bunch of videos. The people in the town absolutely loved it. Everybody was coming together. The businesses did well. This is what it's about, people.
It was great. Great to see. Let me get these super chats dealt with, and then we're going to bring Jeff in. Just remember, folks, I'll try and get some Q&A in with Jeff. All super chats tonight. If you want to put your questions in for Jeff in regards to any questions with the independence process so far, I'll be donating all super chats towards the referendum effort that come in tonight. So get your questions in. PDX with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. Raptor Guy, $5 super chat. At least Calgary doesn't have Mayor City Walk like Toronto. Yeah, we CC9 now. I can't joke about that. I can't do, because I don't want to be too close to when it becomes law that they say, well, you said this and we're going to strike your channel now. There's Steve Jensen with a $5. What's that?
I thought we were good until it got royal assent.
I think so. I think it's 30 days after, but I just don't want to risk it. YouTube, they're so picky about things. Steve Jensen, $5 super. Just don't eat the bugs at Stampede. We never do. Matthew Ferry gifting 5 unacceptable fringe memberships to the Patriots Club. Thank you so much. Welcome to all 5 of our new Patriot members. Real Steve Jensen. Sorry, guys, but it looks like the Calgary Fire Department has been wokeified. Really? I don't know what happened with the Calgary Fire Department. I'll look that up while Jeff is in here. Speaking of which, he's waited long enough. I think it's time we bring the man of the hour in. The Western man in the province, the best looking cowboy. And I mean that in the non-gayest way possible. Jeff is the best representation of a cowboy in the West. And I can't wait to see Mount Rathmore get erected once Alberta gains its independence. Let's bring him in. Jeff Rath, welcome back to the show. It's good to have you in here, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Jeff. Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I was going to bring it up. Jeff, if you do create a TPA, can we please, for the love of God, call it the Mount Rathmore Historical Society? Please. let's do this. And like I said, I
put in my request this year to be Grand Marshal of the Calgary Stampede Parade, but I haven't heard
back. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's happening.
That would have been awesome. You know what? Let's do it up. If anybody in one of the local towns that are doing a rodeo parade want to get Jeff as Grand Marshal for one of the smaller ones, please get on this. Please contact.
The Ponoka Stampede. That's a huge event. I would love to see that happen.
That would be epic. See it
happen. Jeff, I want to talk a little bit about the court hearing because, at least what you can, because we saw the announcement just last week that and I thought it was a win because the judge didn't throw everything out of the court. So where are we on the appeal for the signatures right now?
Well, first of all, we had a great hearing last week on the 18th. We were in front of a really, really great justice of the Alberta Court of Appeal, Justice Woolley. who expressed severe skepticism of Justice Leonard's decision in the lower court. In fact, she used the language that I have grave disquiet with regard to the lower court decision. And, it was evident that, we have over 14 grounds of appeal. So does the province. I mean, there's a massive overlap. There's just so many things wrong with that lower court decision. And we were, gratified to see, I spoke with the provincial lawyers afterwards, gratified to see that a senior justice of the Alberta Court of Appeal shared our concerns with regard to all of the problems with that lower court decision. So that, actually was, for us, was a major takeaway from that hearing. Because, I think all things being equal, we're likely going to win the first round of, the test for the stay, which is, is there a serious issue to be tried, or the higher standard, is there a strong prima facie case on appeal? I argued to the court that we met both, we certainly met the lower standard, and we, as far as I was concerned, we certainly met the higher standard. Because we had such a strong appeal going forward. And I don't think the court had any issues or any problems with that. The tougher ground for us is we have to win all three to get a stay, is the issue of irreparable harm. But we're pointing out, look, where 301,620 Albertans have signed their name to a document after 7,000 volunteers have blanketed the province in one of those miserable winters on record to collect these signatures, that the democracy in this province is being irreparably harmed, and the courts themselves are being brought into disrepute by simply, by having all of these signatures tossed out on what I said was the spurious argument that the government of Alberta has an obligation to consult First Nations with regard to how it consults its own electorate, right? That's what this case is all about, right? And I pointed out to the court that that the lawyers that were in front of Justice Leonard, completely bastardized the law of consultation, and just seemed to wave consultation around in the air like a magic fairy wand to say, oh, we haven't been consulted, therefore, this has to fall, this law, this petition has to fall. And what I pointed out to the judge was that this was one of the major errors that was made by Justice Leonard, that she somehow got it into her mind, listening to these lawyers representing the First Nations, that all you had to do was to say, look, we have a treaty. And because we have a treaty, we have a treaty relationship. And because the government did something without consulting with us, it's harmed our treaty relationship. So we've been irreparably harmed. And what I said to the court was, I said, that argument on its face flies in the face of Canadian law, right? You don't have this obligation to consult that exists at large. It's not a consultation in and of itself, is not a treaty right. Consultation comes into play where the government, is either contemplating action or taking action which will infringe a treaty right. Like, as an example, like some of the cases I've won over the years, where a bunch of idiots wanted to build a road right through an Indian reserve without even talking to the chief and council, right? I mean, obviously in a case like that, there's an obligation to consult. And then the people, when this was pointed out to them in a bloody-minded fashion, they said, okay, well, if we can't put it right through the middle of the Indian reserve, we're going to put it directly on the boundary and screw you. And we said, look, there's still a problem with that because, according to the regulations, there's now a wildlife road corridor sanctuary and extends the entire length of this road through, numerous trap lines, traditional hunting areas, et cetera, where you're going to be interfering with people's rights to hunt, trap, and fish, et cetera, by building this road where nobody wants one within sight of people's trap line cabins that were otherwise isolated and are now going to be vandalized and all these types of things that could have been remedied through consultation. So that's a typical consultation case. You have an identified right, like a right to reserve land, a right to hunt, a right to trap, a right to fish, that's being interfered with by a particular government action where, out of respect, the government has to consult with First Nations prior to interfering with that right. But what happened here was, there's no First Nations right to dictate to the government of Alberta how it consults with its citizens with regard to a referendum. There's no treaty right to dictate to the government of Alberta how Alberta should be holding elections. There's no treaty right to be able to dictate to Elections Alberta, what they should or shouldn't do. And that's what I said. There's literally millions of decisions every year that are made by the provincial government that don't require First Nations consultation. And I said, the real mischief of Justice Leonard's decision is that she's now, and I said, as a treaty and Aboriginal rights advocate, on one hand, God bless her, I love the decision because it means I'll never lose a case ever again. I mean, all I have to do is wander in the court, hold up a treaty and say, look, I have a treaty. There's a treaty relationship. Yep. And they, and they didn't consult with my client. Therefore, I win. I mean, God, I can win those cases, every day in, day out, every day of the week with my eyes closed and both hands tied behind my back, right? But that's not what the law is. The law isn't that stupid, right? And, but God, God bless these lawyers and God bless Justice Leonard. Somehow or other, they convinced her that that's the law. And that's why this justice of the Court of Appeal, who's actually a human rights lawyer, who really understands human rights law and understands what a right is, what an infringement of a right is, the level of analysis that's involved in analyzing the infringement of a right, expressed grave disquiet with regard to this lower court decision. Because anybody who understands what Justice Leonard did should have grave disquiet, to use the most polite term ever. I now love that term, but grave disquiet with regard to this lower court decision, because it literally renders the province of Alberta completely ungovernable, right? If anybody understands, the nature of, consultation law and what it means in the broader scheme of things, this decision has greater implications than that Cowichan case in British Columbia that had everybody, completely up in arms over, the implications for property rights. This decision of Justice Leonard literally renders the province of Alberta completely ungovernable, right? So, on that basis alone, I hate to say that we won on the stay application because they're very uphill and they're almost, you rarely get them and they're very, very hard to win. But I'll tell you what, I think that learned justice is having a real hard time not granting it to us. And on top of it, there's some other fun stuff that came out of the case because the lawyers on the other side are going, the status quo, we have to preserve the status quo, which means the Elections Alberta can't count the signatures. And the learned justice of the Court of Appeal says, no. The status quo is that I restored the decision of the electoral officer to have the petition go forward and to have the signatures counted. That's the status quo. That's what the statute says, right? So that's what we were arguing. And we said, look, where there's a statute and a statutory right, and you have 301,620 people that followed the statute, right? Irreparable harm should be presumed because their statutory rights are being interfered with by the court. And we say in this case, interfered with on absolutely unprecedented and spurious grounds, right? So, this is literally how strongly I've been, have been advocating and arguing this case. So, and I think the court heard me on that. I think the court heard me loud and clear on that issue. And I think the court was deeply troubled by what Justice Leonard did and the mischief that decision, is going to cause the province of Alberta and, Canada at large, if that decision is not overturned on appeal. The other thing that we pointed out that was also a lot of fun is when you dig deep into Justice Leonard's decision, she talks about, the process of how, counting signatures and when signatures get approved and all this kind of stuff. And what we pointed out to the court was Leonard's decision itself interfered with the government's ability to consult with First Nations because the government doesn't even know it's got anything to consult about until the signatures are counted, the number is verified, and the number has been communicated to the government so that the government knows that the referendum question in question is something, that could potentially go forward and be on a ballot, that the government should consider. And of course, and this gets like really arcane and gets into a little bit of inside baseball stuff. A lot of the argument in this case is, yeah, but it's mandatory. It's mandatory. Once the signatures are counted, this has to go forward to a referendum. The judge, the appellate judge, Justice Woolley, said, no, wait a minute. I've read these so-called mandatory provisions in this, in the Citizens Initiative Act. they're like mandatory on the government in the same way that mandatory provisions in the Income Tax Act are mandatory on the CRA, which is to say they're not mandatory at all. And then on top of it, she says, and I pointed this out to Justice Leonard, and of course was completely ignored, right? There's a provision in the CIA that allows for the government of Alberta to completely ignore the question put forward by referendum, right? And change the language and come up with their own question, which is what Danielle did, but by skipping the step of letting the signatures be counted and verified, right? So she came up with her own stupid question that we can talk about later. But and the judge pointed that out too. Like, how's this mandatory if the government can just change the question? And the statute says that they can change the question. There's nothing mandatory. And effectively saying, Mr. Rath is right. They can consult with the First Nations, and then after talking to them, they could change the question to reflect the concerns of the First Nations. That was all on the table. But Justice Leonard herself interfered in that process, and Justice Leonard herself, ironically, prevented that consultation from happening by interfering in the process and stopping Elections Alberta from counting and verifying the signatures. Right? I mean, that's more than a little ironic. And Justice Woolley got that point in spades from me when I put that in front of her. So again, I thought we got a fantastic hearing. If we only get out of that hearing that we have a strong prima facie case on appeal, and that Justice Leonard's decision causes a senior appellate justice who's extremely intelligent, extremely well prepared, extremely knowledgeable in the law, that decision causes an appellate justice of that caliber grave disquiet, I take that as a massive win coming out of that hearing. So, all in all, I was, very, very pleased with our appearance in court last week. I was talking to Global News after the hearing, and they said, "So, Mr. Rath, what are your impressions of today's hearing?" And I said, "Well, honestly, my impression is that the other side needed to send for 7 more lawyers because the ones they had weren't getting the job done, right?" So we had a good laugh. We had a good laugh over that, and and move forward. And I've commented to other people. They said, "Well, how do you think the hearing went?" I said, "Let's put it this way." I said, "I left that hearing a hell of a lot happier than anybody on the other side of the courtroom, because it was really clear. The judge heard our concerns. She heard, our argument, and I think is very carefully going to consider our application for a stay." In light of how bad that lower court decision is and how many errors of law are, crystal clear on the face of that decision in the context of requiring appellate review. So, very, very happy with our appearance in court last week. And and we'll move forward. And again, I was, in preparation for this interview tonight, I took notes because I'm trying to be prepared much more. But I watched that interview with Premier Smith, and I was really, again, very disappointed in her. When she's saying that the court decisions are binding law, we're bound by these court decisions. And of course, she knows full well what nonsense that is. And by the way, in deference to my 15-year-old daughter, the word nonsense now, when I use it, just mentally think of a word that ends, whose initials are B and S, and that's what I mean when I say nonsense. But so anyway, it's just pure nonsense coming out of Premier Smith's mouth when she says that, we're bound by the court decisions. It's been made clear to her over and over again that both Justice Feasby and Justice Leonard in their decisions made it clear that she could always call a clear question on independence under Section 1 of the Referendum Act. She's always had that jurisdiction. There was no binding court decision, that binding law on Premier Smith preventing her from doing the right thing and calling a binary question under Section 1 of the Referendum Act. Everything that came out of her mouth in that regard was pure nonsense. And what's worse is she knows it. She's been told. I know she's been told. We've spoken to her lawyers. I know, people that have spoken to her on this issue. She's been told repeatedly that that she has jurisdiction to call a proper question under Section 1, but she simply didn't want to. And again, our sources are really good. We know people in the Premier's office. Derek, you guys know people in the Premier's office. Everybody knows that the reason that she wouldn't call our question was because she promised Mark Carney that there would be no referendum on independence this year in Alberta, and her having a vote on a vote was her way of keeping her promise to her new boyfriend, Mark Carney, while at the same time paying lip service to, you know, the literally 100,000 people, you know, like at least the 40 or 50,000 people that elected her leader of the UCP, all of whom support Alberta independence. You know, let's not forget Danielle was elected leader of the UCP by people who support independence. Like anybody that's spoken to Cam Davies on this issue, he will confirm it, right? Cam was given money by, you know, various donors to buy 25,000 memberships for Premier Smith or Danielle Smith to become leader of the UCP, right? And those memberships, by and large, were sold to people on the Wexit Party list. Jenny Walker sold the list to Danielle's leadership team, and they worked the Wexit list and sold UCP memberships to Wexit Party members on the promise that Danielle Smith would be a pro-independence premier and would lead Alberta to independence, right? And then if you look at everybody else that was in that leadership race, right? Travis Taves, he's a Kennyite through and through. He's an old, you know, progressive conservative, right? So all of his people were Federalists. Rayjan Sawani is about as left-wing as you can get in the UCP without sitting in Nenshi's lap, right? Then you had Brian Jean, who literally lost the leadership because, you know, during your interview, you were talking about that APP leadership debate that we were all at. Brian Jean thought he was going to win the leadership by going to the APP leadership debate and looking at, you know, 1,000 pro-independence supporters in the eye, call us a bunch of idiots, tell us that Alberta would never leave Canada and that he would only support amendments to the Constitution and would never support independence and separation because he's no separatist. And of course, at that point, Brian was out of the race and he was toast, right? And that's when Danielle, of course, made her infamous promise that, you know, the or else with, with Trudeau was Dennis Beaudry and the Alberta Prosperity Project, basically telling a room full of independence supporters that, that if push came to shove, that she would favor independence, right? Yeah. So that's how Danielle became leader, and then she campaigned for the leadership on the basis of the Alberta Sovereignty Act, right? The minute she becomes leader of the UCP, she did what she did to the Wild Rose. She just stabs everybody in the back, right? And all of a sudden, we have the bait and switch. It's no longer the Alberta Sovereignty Act. It's the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act, right? Yeah. So that's how all of that happened. And she still goes on your program, goes on other interviews, whether it's David Creighton or whatever. You know, it's like, Joseph Goebbels' view of propaganda. Just keep telling the same lie over and over and over again, and people will eventually believe it to be true. And the big lie that he keeps telling is this lie about the founding of the UCP and how 99% of the people of the UCP voted for a sovereign Alberta, a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. That's pure nonsense. Keep in mind what the real meaning of nonsense is now when I say that word, right? Pure nonsense. So, and guys like Peter McCaffrey, guys like Ray Strom, I mean, even Rob Smith, the president of the UCP, have confirmed this to us in writing, confirmed it on X. What she says were the founding principles of the UCP. The only founding principle that was not voted on by the membership and was expressly rejected by the membership was that the UCP was going to be a federalist party and would always support a strong Alberta within a united Canada. That was expressly rejected. It is nowhere in the party constitution. It was only found in a letter agreement between Brian Jean, the Federalist toady, and Jason Kenney, the Federalist toady, who were both, the respective leaders of the Wild Rose. After Jean became leader after Danielle stabbed Wild Rose in the back and crossed the Florida Apprentice, and Jason Kenney then became the leader of the Progressive Conservatives and led that side of the merger between the Wild Rose and the PCs, right? And this constant repetition of the idea that the founding principles of the party, voted by 99% of the party, were that Alberta's to remain in the United Canada, complete nonsense, right? Didn't happen. And in fact, when she says 99%, she's right. 99% of the members of the UCP rejected the language that she now says are part of the founding principles, that specifically that Alberta, the UCP will be a federalist party and committed to keeping, Alberta within a united Canada. Pure nonsense. It's a lie. Every time she says it, it's a lie. And she just keeps repeating it over and over, even though she knows it's not true. She's been told by Peter McCaffrey it's not true. She's been told by Rob Smith it's not true. I've repeatedly gone on program after program and have, set out the entire history of this because we were all there, right? As to what happened. She knows she's lying, but she still does it. And it's, to me, it's, it's just really, really, really disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a quick question, Jeff, because a lot of people were asking earlier, and I did have one that kind of touches on it. When it comes to the appeal now, let's say the stay is granted that we can verify the signatures from our side of the aisle. This question was asked earlier. What is the last date the referendum question can be changed to a Clarity Act compliant binding referendum on independence? Does that mean like that's possible? Like, do you think that's going to happen, or is it safe to say at this point we have to get through the October vote and then push for a binding referendum?
Well, here's the interesting thing. If we get our stay, right, it literally takes a big, massive smoking hot potato and drops it right in Danielle Smith's lap, because she no longer has any excuses not to use our question, right? But she's going to say, well, we've already considered this and we've already called a question and we've done this and we've done that. And it's just going to make her look even more weaselly and horrible and politician-y than she already looks, right? Let's face it, she's on thin ice politically with almost every member of the UCP base. Like the only ones that, are still supporting her are, complete, Danielle Smith, fanboys and fangirls. That literally follow her around like doting puppies, right? Fawning on every word and, and knowing full well, where the graft and corruption checks are coming from, and won't hear a bad word said about, Saint Danny as if she's Joan of Arc, right? But more and more, I mean, every time she goes out in public and tells a lie that everybody knows is a lie, I used to say that she was burning her political capital like a drunk lighting cigars with $100 bills, right? But now she's like literally taking her political capital, piling it up on the front lawn, pouring gasoline on it and lighting it on fire, right? Because every time she goes on a program like yours or Creighton or wherever, she just lies and lies and lies, and people aren't buying it. And I mean, one of the other massive lies that she's telling that probably has bigger implications for the province than any of the independent stuff we're talking about are all the fibs that she's telling about the MOU, right? Yeah. Like pretending that this is a good deal for the province of Alberta. People it is only going to cost $1 here and $1 there, and oh my goodness, and there's always been carbon pricing, so I don't know why people would think there wouldn't be carbon pricing, and all the silly stuff that comes out of her mouth. Nobody, elected Danielle to be the representative of the federal government with regard to net zero in the province of Alberta. Like nobody thought in electing Danielle Smith that, I'm Alberta first. Well, I'm the government of Alberta first in line to take money out of your pocket under the guise of carbon tax. She calls it pricing. Oh, there's always going to be a carbon price. It's a tax, and it's a tax based on nothing. They might just as well charge us an oxygen tax for the air we breathe. Putting a tax on carbon, only a banker as crooked and corrupt as Carney could come up with a scheme as stupid as putting a price on, the natural expulsion of, a gas that our planet needs to survive and is very, very, the very part of the atmosphere that Earth requires for its survival, right? Like, it's free fertilizer for our farmers. Take carbon out of the air and you're literally, harming the growth of our forests, you're retarding the growth of our farms, all of those things. CO2 is good for us. And anybody that says otherwise and buys into this stupid, oh my God, the world is going to end at 440 parts per million. I mean, good God. I mean, this planet thrives at 880 parts per million. We're actually in almost on the verge of carbon starvation at the levels that we're at now. So, we're sitting here taxing things and talking about eliminating things that is literally the breath of life for the planet, right? But let's slap a tax on it. Let's, retard our industries. Like all of the reductions in CO2 that have been applied in Canada, in 1 year, hammering our economy, doing all kinds of untold damage to, working Canadians, massive food inflation, everything else that people are suffering in this province over this phony drive for net zero so that Carney's friends in Brookfield can get rich building modular nuclear reactors, blah, blah, blah. It's all a massive fraud. And the worst of it is all of our reductions in a year of Canada and a year's devastation of the Canadian economy are literally replaced within 3 days of increased carbon dioxide output from China and India. It's just complete lunacy that we're following these policies in Alberta. And Danielle Smith has her little pom-poms out and she's leading the lunatic parade with all this net zero bullshit. Sorry, nonsense. Sorry, apologize.
No, it's all good. You got an open floor here, man.
Right?
It's YouTube, baby.
But that's the whole thing, right? So, it's just pure nonsense. And again, we didn't elect her for that. Like, it's Alberta first. It's like, come on, Danielle. And we're going to fight to keep the federal government out of our jurisdiction. You just signed a net zero carbon tax agreement with Mark Carney that doesn't even guarantee a pipeline. Like, I loved it when you actually put language to her. Well, the agreement says, no earlier than, September 97. That could mean, September of, 2035 or 2050. Like, it doesn't mean anything. So you're giving up like hard costs to the Alberta economy, applying hard taxes to hardworking Albertans, driving inflation in this province on we don't even need, right? Between
we lost Jeff. We lost Jeff. Hang on. We'll get him back.
Sorry.
There he is.
We're all good.
Okay, we lost you there. We're all good.
Sorry.
I'm gonna bring in a quick point here, just to kind of circle back. Just curious of what the plan is going forward with the appeal and with the lawsuit and everything like that. What's the time frame? What are we looking at until we can, like you said, drop that atomic bomb on the UCP, saying, "Hey, no, verify our signatures and let's move forward."
Oh, I don't think Jeff can hear us.
Oh, can you hear us, Jeff?
I can hear you. I'm backstage. I can totally hear you, but I'm backstage. I'm not. You can't.
No, you're on. You're on the screen. You're on the screen.
Oh, okay. My screen says I'm backstage.
You're on. You're on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no. I mean, well, first of all, we're hoping that we get the stay so we can force Elections Alberta to count our signatures and forward that number to Premier Smith, out of respect for the 301,000 people who signed the petition. But I mean, we're going to keep battling because there was an error in the massive error in the court below. We think that needs to be rectified. And, Danielle Smith needs to know that she has a legal obligation to call our question, right? Yeah. That having been said, having now had some time to reflect on it and gotten over, being, so upset at the fact that Danielle looked at every Albertan in the eye and lied to their faces about the fact that the courts, blocked her from calling our question, or Lou Kasik's question for that matter, because the courts didn't block anything, right? In terms of her calling the question under Section 1, she's actually made our job a lot easier, right? And the good news is, I mean, a lot of us feel, I know you and I have had discussions about this, Derek, and I know there's other people like, that disagree with me on this, but I firmly, in my heart of hearts, believe that Danielle Smith is completely untrustworthy and will never, ever lead us to independence. Right? I do not believe that Alberta will ever become free or will ever become independent with Danielle Smith in charge, because she's in the pocket of too many vested interests that do not want Albertans to be free, right? Whether it's Nancy Southern and ATCO, who's just gleefully waiting for Carney's net zero electricity regulations to take full form so ATCO can rake in money hand over fist. Various other billionaires like Murray Edwards, who's going to profit from the Pathways Alliance project. There's lots of vested interests that literally, make Danielle's mouth move like a puppet, right? that do not want Alberta to be independent, right? So I see Danielle as a real impediment to independence, so much so that I support everybody buying UCP memberships and doing everything they can to take over their local constituency associations, elect boards, that can put forward motions for an SGM on leadership review and so on. But leave that aside. The good news is we all work our asses off to have a vote on her question, to have a question. If she campaigns against us, like she says she's going to, she's already campaigning against us, and she loses, I think at that point she has to resign as leader of the UCP. I mean, how can she stay on as leader when the entire province rejects her lies about the founding principles of the UCP, keeping Alberta in a united Canada? And like, how can she stay on as leader when, the entire province is rejecting her alliance with Nancy, Carney, Kenny, Luke Kasich, and that whole band of motley socialists that she now has crawled into bed with, right? I mean, she's keeping some really strange bedfellows right now. I mean, the fact that she and Nenshi are political allies, she and Luke Kasich are political allies, she and Mark Carney are political allies, and they're allied against the people of Alberta. So, I mean, Danielle's totally put herself on the wrong side of this issue. And on top of it, it makes her look, besides being completely duplicitous, right? Because she promised us a vote. You get 301,000, you get your 178,000 signatures, and your question will be on the ballot. I promise. I believe in the citizens' initiative referendum process. And I'm prepared to listen to our citizens. So now instead, oh, no, I'm not prepared to listen. And instead, we're going to have a vote to have a vote. Well, we've already had a vote to have a vote. It was called the petition process. We met the legal threshold. We have the signatures, right? And, she's been served with a statutory declaration certifying what the number is. She could say, okay, if I don't want to hell with, this court process. Both judges have made it clear I can call the question under question 1. I'm going to call the question under section 1 of the Referendum Act. But she chose not to. So again, she completely lied to her base. She backstabbed all of the members of the UCP that want a referendum on independence. And we are a super majority of that party now, right? Like, there was an Angus Reid poll, and I'm not just saying this, like there's an Angus Reid poll recently that had the UCP members in favor of independence at 64%, right? Yeah. That's a hair off of, a super majority. And we all know that our people, a lot of them won't answer polls because they're afraid of, having their name put on a list, by Carney. I mean, we now live in fear of our government, right? Having our bank accounts seized, being subject to punitive action by government, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to know that, support within the UCP for independence is far higher than the 64% that Angus Reid polled. I think it's well over 75% within the UCP. Yeah. So how can she stay on as leader if we vote, if Albertans, all of Alberta, not just the UCP, vote to have a binding vote on independence? It puts her in a very awkward position. And then getting back to what I was saying about her gross incompetence, she's actually campaigning against her best negotiating position, right? She, one would think if she cared about Alberta and was Alberta first, she'd want us to vote to have a vote, because that's where her leverage is in any negotiation with Canada and any negotiation with, in favor of Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada, right? Yep. Is to maintain that leverage. But instead, she's actually campaigning against her own leverage. Like, I've never seen a politician behave so incompetently, right? And on top of it, think about this for 1 second. How easy would this be for her, right? Oh, I've already said I'm a Remain in Canada girl. I've got my red blazer and white shirt. I dress up like Anita Anand. I dress up like a Canadian flag. I'm a Remain in Canada girl, right? And, I've already said that, but I support democracy. I have to vote in favor of having a vote because Albertans should have their voice and they should be allowed to have their say. I mean, come on. Like, she's actually campaigning against democracy. Like, how does she keep her position?
It's a little redundant.
How does she maintain her position when she loses?
Yeah. Well, like we talked about this before. We talked about this before that, if she would have stayed perfectly neutral in the whole thing, it would have definitely been a lot better for her instead of having to pick sides. I understand the attacks and everything like that. And like I said, I'm pretty much done with it when it comes to Smith. The vote in October will be such a monumental shakeup I'm being very optimistic, just seeing the support that's coming out and everything like that. If we win, I mean, it's like you said, she's going to be between an insane rock and a hard place. I know Derek's talked about it. Derek, what do you think?
Well, I mean, again, it comes down to the pressure, I think, that gets put on her after October 19th, that you need to, and it was one of the questions I asked her during our interview, when will you call that binding referendum? And she's very clear. She said to the Edmonton Journal, she said on this channel a couple of weeks later, the exact same thing. Well, it's going to take months and months and possibly years because we have to consult. We have to have the go ahead from the House of Commons and an approval on the question. Why? No, we don't. That's not how the law works.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that, because on my list of Danielle Smith's whoppers that I took out of your, interview with her, that was one of the big whoppers that she told, right? First Nations consultation. She consults with the chiefs of Alberta every week, right? She's at some meeting with them somewhere, right? So this idea that, consultation is going to take months. She goes, oh, okay, we have our regularly scheduled conflab, between the premier and the chiefs next week. And I'm going to come and I'm going to consult with you with regard to putting the following question on a referendum ballot, right? Then she goes to the meeting. All the chiefs lose their ever-loving minds. They say, you can't do that. We have a veto, blah, 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 blah. And then she says, okay, well, thanks. I've heard your concerns. Is there any way in which this question could be modified that would address your concerns whatsoever? No, we don't want a question at all. We don't want blah, blah, blah. You can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, thank you. We'll take your views into account. That's all the consultation that's required, because there's no actual right being infringed, right? This isn't a situation where consent would be required, like if you were building a road through the middle of an Indian reserve, right? This is, on all the, and keep in mind, I've argued and won more consultation cases than any lawyer in Canada, okay? And I'm not just saying that as hyperbole. I have over 320 reported cases, the bulk of them in and around First Nations consultation. I've won more consultation cases in Alberta than any lawyer in Alberta. I've won cases on this issue at the Supreme Court. I know the law in this area as well or better than almost any lawyer or law professor in the country, right? And I can tell you that on the sliding scale of consultation from, mere notice to, consent, which is, the scale the Supreme Court sets out, this would be at the lowest level of the scale if there even was a duty to consult, because there's no rights infringement. There's no right being infringed by people putting their name on a piece of paper. There's no right.
Everybody gets one vote.
By the signatures being counted. Well, no, and it's beyond that. And of course, both Justice Leonard and Justice Feasby completely ignored what the Supreme Court of Canada said in the secession reference, which is that nobody's rights are at issue in the context of an independence referendum, because an independence referendum itself, even in the context of a yes vote, does not amend the Constitution. It is merely a political consultation with a populace. The process of amendment of the Constitution requires the parties to the Constitution, being the provincial governments and the federal governments, to come to the table to negotiate amendments under Article 5 of the Constitution. And on top of it, First Nations have a special role to play and have a special place in the Constitution because of a section called Section 35.1 of the Constitution Act 1982 that requires a constitutional conference to be called if there's to be any devolution of federal powers pertaining to Indians to any government other than the federal government. So the First Nations have to be at the table with their list of grievances, broken treaty promises, everything else. I've said from the beginning, this is a massive opportunity for them. And rather than fighting this and complaining about it, they should be supporting this. This is the only way that they are ever going to get a constitutional conference to redress all of their grievances, right? It's a huge opportunity for them. But unfortunately, their present legal counsel and, left-wing consultants and advisors, are all too dim to figure that out.
No, you're right. It's the only chance they get to get out of this stupid garbage Indian Act at the end of the day and address all the grievances that they've had with that for the last, 150 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's not forget. I mean, there's some really good portions of the Indian Act that that a lot of people, myself, think shouldn't be done away with, like including the Indian Act tax exemption, which is a massive economic, a development tool, et cetera. And and it's actually the encapsulation of a treaty right under Treaty 8, where one of the oral promises to Treaty 8 was we had to solemnly assure the Indians that they would not be subject to any form of tax or enforced military service. So there's actually anti-tax, anti-conscription provision in Treaty 8 that nobody ever talks about. But I mean, trust me, it's there, right? So there's all of these things that the First Nations can come to the table with and make sure that they're written into the deal that's struck between Canada and Alberta for Alberta to become an independent country. But rather than seizing the opportunity, right, they would rather, engage in all of this performative nonsense with, Thomas Lukasik and, all these other people, than, sitting back and quietly reflecting how much better off their communities are going to be with a constitutionalized resource revenue sharing deal, $15 billion a year no longer going to Quebec, and a significant portion of that money staying in Alberta to help fix the communities that have been left in absolute devastation and devastating poverty by the government of Canada, et cetera, et cetera. Like I just wish that First Nations chiefs and councils could embrace this as an opportunity. Certainly, if you believe the Rebel News poll that was done by Main Street, 46% of rank and file First Nations members see this as a massive opportunity because they support independence.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we had tens of thousands of First Nations people sign our petition, right? Proudly coming up and using their treaty card as ID to sign the independence petition because, they want to get out from underneath the Indian Act. They want to get out from underneath Ottawa. They understand how corrupt, Ottawa is, and now the many-headed, whatever you call the various sub-branches of what used to be the Department of Indian Affairs that are now CERNA and, whatever else they call it now. You've got the different, branches of, whatever. People on the ground understand how important it is to get out from underneath the control of Ottawa, right? Mm-hmm. So, I just hope that the chiefs come around to, to actually reading the Value of Freedom document and look at what's being proposed in that document and try to internalize how much better off their communities will be in a free and independent Alberta, where the economy of Alberta is booming, where there's going to be full employment for their people, where, their communities are going to have more money flowing into them than they've ever had before, because we've literally gotten rid of the $70 billion a year that we send to Ottawa so that we can keep all of that money in Alberta for Albertans, including Alberta's Indigenous people, right? I mean, that's why I'm doing this. This is why I'm involved in this.
Right. Let me get to a few of the super chat questions we have here, because some people have some things they want to, of course, ask one of the most knowledgeable constitutional lawyers. Steve Jensen comes in. I've seen a lot of chat online about the probable need to declare a unilateral declaration of independence. Can you explain what that is and when it might be needed?
Well, paragraph 155 of the Supreme Court secession reference basically says if Ottawa doesn't negotiate in good faith, the province would have a right under international law to unilaterally declare independence. Do any of us expect Ottawa to act in good faith? I don't.
No.
Right? I mean, even this nonsense of coming out of Carney already. Oh, clear question. Clear majority. Oh, that's not 50% what plus one. That's going to be whatever bullshit number I make up. Right?
Yeah.
So, already Carney's playing games and we're not even there yet. Right? And then on top of it, oh, yes, and we have to approve the question. I can tell you that myself, Keith Wilson, Evan Chipiuk, and several other lawyers took a very careful look at the wording of Section 1 sub 3 and 1 sub 4 of the Clarity Act. And the question that we drafted that went to, that was the 301,620 Albertans signed their names to is 100% perfectly compliant with the Clarity Act, which says that in order for a Clarity Act question to be compliant, the question must clearly state that the province will cease to be part of Canada and become an independent state. Does any of this sound familiar? Our question is literally the exact wording of the Clarity Act, right? So if Carney were to take our question and say, oh, well, that question doesn't comply with the Clarity Act, We go, okay, well, thanks. That's the shortest negotiation ever. You've just demonstrated complete bad faith before we even get to the table. I guess it's time for a unilateral declaration of independence. And isn't it wonderful that the United States of America is likely to recognize Alberta as an independent country?
Yeah.
Right?
I've had some people ask. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Jeff. There's always a delay on these. I've had some people ask, can we, like, let's say Danielle gets ousted. Let's say somebody replaces her and they're independence minded. Do we need to hold a referendum for them to unilaterally declare independence, or could they just say, you know what, we're going to skip the process?
In fact, there's, like, everybody looks at this like this is some bizarre process that's never happened before. Literally, in the last 150 years, there's dozens of new countries that have been created around the world, right? Kosovo, Israel, like, let's start going down the list of, all the various countries in Africa that have split off from various colonies and split into various pieces. All the chunks of the former Soviet Union, including Ukraine, et cetera, that were not countries in 1980, right? They're all countries now, right? They all just popped into being. And most of those countries popped into being not through a referendum process, but by an act of their elected legislatures, right? So if we elected a pro-independence legislature, the legislature itself could unilaterally declare independence as a matter of, of the sovereign, legislative sovereignty of the legislature, and there's little or nothing anybody can do about it. But under Canadian law, we have this, this process set out by the Supreme Court through the secession reference that starts with a referendum. And I mean, I'm a firm believer in the fact that a referendum imparts political legitimacy to the process, right? But strictly speaking, is it necessary? No, right? A successful referendum followed by a UDI, would that be more likely to achieve international recognition? Probably, right? But again, not necessary. There was no referendum in Kosovo when it unilaterally declared independence from Yugoslavia. And guess who the first country was to recognize Kosovo? Canada, right? So, and then on top of it, in the middle of very fraught negotiations between Israel, Canada, and the Hamas terrorists in Gaza, what does Mark Carney do? He unilaterally recognized the Palestinian state. Right. Yeah. So, unilateral declarations of independence and unilateral recognition of independent states, happen as, acts of sovereignty of sovereign nations, on an ongoing and regular basis. It's a part of, international law. It's part of the international structure. And quite frankly, when you read the secession reference, I think there's a good argument to be made that it's actually part of the, of the Canadian constitutional order. Because if governments act in bad faith and do not negotiate in good faith, do not come to the table, do not, want to discuss, independence, negotiate the terms of independence in a good faith, above board manner within, 6 months of, Alberta, voting to leave the country, Alberta can just say, look, it's been 6 months. It's a very simple process. This isn't complicated. There's 6 or 7 federal departments that have anything to do with us. We'll take over all of the bureaucrats that work there. We'll merge Parks Canada into Alberta Parks. We already have an Alberta Revenue Department. We're not going to be collecting federal income tax anyway. We're going to have a single Alberta tax that'll be collected through Alberta. So we don't need any of you people anymore anyway. We're going to have our own, armed forces. We've already got a training cadre established of, largely retired commandos and JTF2 soldiers and, members of the Princess Patricia Light Infantry Regiment that have all, lived in and retired to Alberta, who've all, have all gleefully volunteered to stand up the Alberta Army, et cetera. I know all kinds of those guys, and they're all on board, right? And these are some of the meanest. These are some of the meanest old warrant officers that you ever want to meet, right? That will gleefully be running the first basic training courses of the Alberta Armed Forces. And
it's a good start.
Yeah, what's that?
It's a good start.
So, yeah, no, for sure, right? So anyway, I mean, all of that, is just, can all be done easily. None of this is particularly complicated. But of course, everybody on the other side wants to make this as complicated as they possibly can to try, oh, this is all impossible and you're going to lose your trade agreements and oh my God, you'll be landlocked.
Yeah.
Well, we're landlocked now. And like, why wouldn't the United States continue to trade with us? Like, just, we're going to declare independence and or the United States is going to say, oh, we're not going to take any of your oil anymore because you're not part of the USMCA agreement. We've had some pretty good discussions about that on a, not on a binding basis, but on a, an aspirational basis with representatives of the current U.S. administration. We can have the shortest free trade agreement in the world. It's going to be one page, complete reciprocal free trade, no tariffs, on any goods and services on either side of the border, period. Because when President Trump says reciprocal free trade, he means it, right? So, and from a U.S. perspective, why would they want to tariff Alberta oil anyway? Because it adds to the price at the pump for consumers in the U.S. So, and then on the Alberta side, why would we want to tariff any of their goods if they're not tariffing any of our goods? And we're certainly, we get out from underneath the Quebec, the Saputo clan and the Quebec dairy mafia. Why would we want to restrict American dairy from coming into Alberta? Right? Like, why would we, why would we want to prevent our beef farmers from, having having hygienic micro dairies in all of their barns if that's what they and their families want to do, right? Like, all of these things, are possible in a free and independent Alberta. Incidentally, we never hear Pierre Poilievre talking about any of this, right? Has anybody once heard Pierre Poilievre talking about how he, would like to address the 10-to-1 discrepancy in dairy licenses between Alberta and Quebec? He's an Alberta MP in a rural riding. You'd think the fact that Quebec has 4,000 dairy licenses to Alberta's 400, is something that a rural MP should be focused on. But you'll never hear Poilievre talk about it because, he's still pandering to votes in Montreal. And like every other politician down east, he's been bought off by the Saputo dairy mafia.
There you go.
Right?
That was actually going to hit our next question. So I'm glad you kind of knocked two out with one shot there, Jeff. That was a gooder. Let's
knock it out of the park.
Alberta Pin comes in and asks, Jeff, is freedom possible in 2027?
I would certainly hope so. I mean, my heart of hearts. I mean, everybody just pedal to the metal. We just got to keep working, keep the pressure up. I mean, it's got to happen, right?
Yeah, this one's a little out there.
Like we are currently winning, whether people realize it or not. I mean, we forced a referendum vote this year. Nobody thought that was going to happen, right?
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, if we vote to have a vote, that's going to get us where we need to go. And like I said, from my perspective, it's a twofer because Danielle's going to have to resign. Like, she's done if we win.
I like that.
It's just as good as voting her out as leader, right?
Yeah, the one thing I really do like about the vote to have a vote is that then you're forced, if we're successful in October, then we're forcing the UCP at that point to become a separatist party at the end of the day. So it's either get on board or get out.
Absolutely, right? That's it. That's it exactly. And I think Rob Smith understands the party a lot better than Danielle Smith does, right? And for everybody that knows who I'm talking about, Rob Smith is the president of the UCP. Of course, Danielle Smith is the premier. There's no relation, obviously, between the two, right? But that's why Rob wanted to have the UCP remain neutral in the upcoming referendum fight, because he understands the amount of independent support there is within the party, and that Danielle is literally having the party campaign against a super majority of her own base. Like when she says the UCP is a federalist party and we support Canada. Nonsense. That's pure nonsense. Right?
Well, listen, you go back to that AGM when you stood up and your mic got cut off and you had the whole room erupting about independence. Like, I question what her end game is when that's how she's playing things. But I mean, I think we know what her end game is based on her behavior now. I mean, Steve Jensen chimes in, new non-political.
She fed the beast, right?
Yep.
Sorry.
Steve Jensen says non-new.
Right? She fed the independence monster. She courted all of us to support her leadership. And now, she's literally, it's the old saying, like, if you're riding a tiger, you better hold on real tight, because if you fall off, that sucker's going to eat you.
That's
right?
it. That's
and
it.
That's kind of what Danielle's doing right now. She's riding the tiger because, everybody that is favoring independence, isn't tolerating, her duplicity anymore. So she's on progressively thin ice. I think it's going to be a very uncomfortable summer for her. If we know anything about Danielle, is that she loves to be loved. Like, she's got to be liked by everybody, and she's completely alienated her own base. So it's not going to be a fun summer for her.
No, and Steve Jensen brings in here new non-political poll of decided voters verified apparently by Jason Levine had 40.9% leave, 47.9 stay, with 11.2 undecided. I mean, that's
so sorry. What's the leave? What's the leave side at now? 42.
Sorry. 40.9% is leave, 47.9 stay, and 11.2 undecided.
Yeah, so the undecided, I'm sure, are the people that don't want to admit that they're in favor of independence.
Yeah, the silent majority. Yeah,
there's a lot of them. Because don't forget, there's a lot of people out there that will not answer a poll and say that they favor independence. There's a lot of cops, there's a lot of firefighters, there's a lot of paramedics, there's a lot of frontline workers that understand exactly what their pay stub is going to look like when they put a red circle around the federal income tax portion of their pay stub, and know that it could disappear within the first 2 years of Alberta independence, and understand how much better off their families are going to be, right? So, I would say, like, the vast majority of frontline workers are going to be voting for independence, but they won't answer that affirmatively on poll, right? And even when we were taking signatures, we've had more than one canvassing group report to us that, police, would come up and say, hey, we support you guys. We just can't say it. Good work. Keep it up.
I love it.
That's literally, been everybody's experience. But I was in court in Edmonton. We were talking to all the courthouse staff and the security staff and the sheriffs and all of those guys, almost 100% on board with independence. I mean, I go into, car dealerships, or I'm going around, Canadian Tire, and I'm buying fishing gear. My daughter and I are going to bugger off and do some fishing this summer. And everywhere I go, it's like, you're Jeff Rath. We want to talk to you. Thanks for your hard work. We really support what you're doing. We've got to get Alberta out of Canada. And these are just regular folk, right? Yeah. That are quietly supporting what we're doing, right? Yeah. I'm really encouraged by that. So I hear that 41% number. I think the real number, could 47, 48, 49, 50. We could even be over that 50% threshold already. I mean, why do you think they're so petrified? Like, why do you think they're going out of their way to make all these BS rules about, third-party advertisers, limiting our spending, doing everything they can to handcuff us and tie our hands behind our backs, because they are afraid that we're going to win. Like, just in the last amendment to, whatever it was that Danielle was amending, pretending to thank us while at the same time screwing us. They amended the Elections Act so that where before any political party could campaign on unlimited funds on any referendum issue, they amended the act so that only political parties with at least one seat in the legislature could campaign on unlimited funds, for a referendum issue. So every time we turn around, there's Danielle dealing another one off the bottom of the deck, right? Dirty, dirty, dirty Danielle, right? Just dealing cards off the bottom of the deck, pretending to be on our side while constantly sticking it to us, right? That's what we're up against. There's no doubt about it. I mean, she didn't enter your bosom buddies now. Danielle Smith and the nose pick and Teletubby. That's who she's in.
I kind of want to bring this in because you touched on third-party advertisers, and I asked this on X the other day, and you kind of lightly replied to it, Jeff. Corey Morgan says, still Tad curious how they managed to operate so long without registration. Of course, Tom Lukaszuk becoming a TPA over the weekend. What happens to all the money that they've accumulated and the signs they've printed? Like, shouldn't this disqualify them when you think about
all of that? I think all of that should be seized by Elections Alberta.
Yeah.
Their bank
you would
accounts
think
should
so.
be frozen.
When you think about,
we actually filed. I'm one of many people. Eva and I, wrote a letter to Elections Alberta, because they had some bogus some bogus investigation going on against the Alberta Prosperity Project, right? Claiming that APP was a third-party advertiser, and we proved to them that we weren't. But at the same time, we said, well, wait a minute, right? You're accusing us of doing something that's, that we're not doing. And here it is, like, here's the statement of Mr. Lukasik, on X, telling people they can make unlimited donations to Forever Canada without limitation. And he's campaigning against, this is during our referendum period, he was campaigning against our referendum. So he was a third-party advertiser during our referendum process. He was fundraising against our referendum process, like our petition process, right? And Elections Alberta did nothing about it. What about all that money? That weasel's been raising money off of our efforts for 6, 7, 8 months, telling people they could donate unlimited amounts of money to him. And none of it has to be accounted for. I mean, BS.
You think about the stink that was made over Centurion and that list getting and the fingers that came pointing in the direction
you mean that same list that all the purple-haired, nose-pierced,
but
gender confused.
It was all shut them
access to on a regular basis.
Yeah, but everybody was shut them down, fine them, run them out. That they should be disqualified. Now Tom Lukasik does this. And well, because he's petitioning for Canada to remain whole, that makes it okay. I just don't understand why there's such a bias.
Well, I mean, I actually even posted on X the other day in response to the fact that Tommy DeCommie finally got around to registering a TPA, right? And I said quite seriously that Elections Alberta wouldn't have any standards if they didn't have double standards, right?
That's true.
Yeah, I like the idea of going after him to figure out. Like, I'm curious to how much money came from like outside the province and stuff like that. That's what makes me think that there was a lot. That's probably why he was trying so hard.
You want to talk about foreign interference? Like how much money is being funneled to Thomas Lukasik from Communist China? As far as I'm concerned, Ottawa is foreign to this process. How much foreign money is coming out of Ottawa? As far as I'm concerned, if he's getting money from the Canadian government, that's foreign money.
But you're right.
It has no place in our referendum process.
I want to see Elections Alberta seize the Winnebago. We'll buy it. We'll put it at Mirror. We'll fill it full of tannerite and we'll blow it up.
That would be great.
That's a lot of tannerite.
We could sell tickets. We could sell tickets for the movement. We'll make some.
There you go. Steve Jensen's got a weird one here. I've heard, I know all these guys went to the UFC together, but he says, is it true that Danny, Ezra, Levant, Pierre, Jason, Kenny, and possibly Nenchis and others had a secret meeting about getting power together at the UFC when they were students? I mean, that's kind of out there, but these days.
I've heard that Danielle all kinds of antics and shenanigans at the UFC, and I think that we have to give everybody a pass for what went on in college. Whatever went on in college stays in college.
That's right. That's kind of the way I see it. Here's Doug Weber asking, though, a question for Jeff. What is your take on the private-public medical license enacting before the Alberta pension plan, bang license, and everything else in the face of Alberta separation?
Well, I think the more things that we can do to assert our freedom from Canada are good, but at the same time, we're kind of at a point now where Danielle's just constantly putting lipstick on a pig, right? It's like all of her nonsense about the gun grab. Oh, we're winning because Mark Carney had to back off. Mark Carney had to back off on the gun grab because the case went to the Supreme Court of Canada, right? Had nothing to do with Danielle and her, and any of her policies. She promised us all an Alberta firearms license, which is what we think we need to protect us criminalized by the federal government. She refuses to do it. So, our policy is we won't prosecute you. You'll still be a criminal, and you can be subject to arrest by the RCMP in Saskatchewan, British Columbia, anywhere else in Canada, by Canadian border agents if you leave Canada and come back in through a federal port of entry, right, which is every port of entry. You could be arrested then for being illegally in possession of all your firearms, but we, the government of Alberta, aren't going to prosecute you, right? That's nonsense. Like, she needs to be issuing gun licenses under Section 9213 of the Constitution Act 1867, which says that the province has exclusive jurisdiction over property and civil rights in the province, and needs to be asserting jurisdiction under the firearms registry case, the Supreme Court of Canada, which said that, that the registry had a criminal law aspect, but if the federal government ever got into, regulating markets for firearms, criminalizing the ownership of various types of firearms, criminalizing ownership and possession of firearms, that may run afoul of Section 9213 of the Constitution Act 1867. That's absolutely clear that that's what they're doing. Trudeau eliminated the market for handguns. If you own pistols now, you can't sell restricted weapons to anybody. Your right to that property and your right to sell that property even to other people with a similar class of license was arbitrarily eliminated by Justin Trudeau because he hates us. He hates our property rights. He hates the fact that we own firearms. Et cetera, et cetera. And Danny has the opportunity to do something about it. Myself, Keith Wilson, Gil Galacki, Sean Alexander, a couple other guys, we were all involved in drafting an Alberta firearms licensing regulation that dealt with everything. It was like a 13 or 14 point regulation, really simple to put forward, addressed every single issue that gun owners have in this province. So I sent it to Danielle Smith. I sent it to the Justice Department. We sent it to, Todd Lowen has seen it. I mean, everybody, people in her cabinet that needed to see it all saw it. She promised that she was going to do it. And then like everything else she did, oh, well, I don't want to offend my boyfriend, Mark, so I better not do it because I don't want to upset him, It's more important that Mark like me than 365,000 Albertans who are going to be criminalized by my new boyfriend, right? Yeah. Come on.
Craziness. I got to say, I love this one that came in. It's not really a question, but Albertans will be knighting Sir Jeff, Sir Mitch, and Sir Dennis at the Calgary Stampede in 2027. I think we'll do it, and we'll do it with the new noise regulations that say we can go till 5 a.m.
Yeah, well, I don't need a knighthood, but like I said, I'm never running for public office. I'm never accepting a public appointment to any position. Including the bench, for all the people that are accusing me of, Rath has all these aspirations to. I have not. My own aspiration is to get Alberta the hell out of Canada and then retire. Right, is kind of where I'm at in my life. Right? But anyway, the only public position that I will accept is Grand Marshal of the Calgary Stampede Parade.
Done. Yeah. Done. Yeah. We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
I'm 100%
as soon as we
in
get
favor.
as soon as we get Alberta out of Canada, and I'll be riding my own damn horse. Thank you very much.
You know what? You know what, Jeff? We'll have you riding a tank. How's that? We'll one up it.
I have some pretty good horses. I'll be riding one of my horses. I'll have to find one that's quiet enough to ride in the Stampede, but most of my horses are pretty fast and pretty forward, so I'll have to find one that.
I got to tell you guys, if you follow Jeff on X, he's got some beautiful horses. He's always posting pictures out there. I'd take one of those horses over a tank any day. But nonetheless, Jeff, it's never a dull moment when we have you on the channel. It's always good to have you on here. I really thank you for coming on tonight.
We only scratched the surface of all of Danielle's from her interview, but I think I hit the high points, and we can, I still have my notes for the next time I'm on. So thanks for having me. It was a real fun chatting, you guys. And I just want to thank all of your viewers. I want to thank your viewers and your viewership for your support of Alberta independence. God bless all of you, and let's just keep the pedal to the metal and keep working forward for freedom. So thank you all very much.
Absolutely believe in that, Jeff, and thank you for all you've done, because everything I keep saying this, because sometimes we're advertising the different TPAs and we're trying to talk about everybody, but I'll tell you, you guys started this boulder going up the hill, and without you, Mitch and Dennis, it wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be sitting here right now. So thank you for everything.
Like I keep telling everybody, go find your own constituencies, right? You're worried about all the people that I've offended. Hey, go talk to them. Promise them that Jeff Rath will never run for public office, because I won't.
There you go.
I'll never be president. That's got to be a massive selling point for all of the people that think Keith Wilson is so clever. Like all of Keith, like Mitch, Mitch and Dennis and I, we have our 500,000 votes. We'll get out our people to vote. Now you guys, you and Corey and even Alberta Pride dude, like go find your 500,000 voters and get them out to vote. We're doing our, and don't worry about me talking to people that think I'm funny and like what I have to say. And you go talk to the people that I offend, because those are the voters that you need to get. right?
Well, and I think we can
promise them that Jeff Rath will never run for public office. It's a massive selling point.
We'll make that the bonus reason for Alberta to leave Canada on the back of our shirts. That'll be number 11 of 10 reasons we should go. Listen, Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll have you on real soon again, and please keep up the good work. And thank you for all that you've sacrificed to get us where we are. And we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Derek. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Anytime, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Okay,
have a great evening.
Over now. Okay, bye. Yeah,
take care. Bye.
The legend
himself. Jeff Rath. How can you ever say, like, look, I've had my moments where I've said, oh, Jeff's got to get under control. He's got to this and that. I got to say, in recent weeks, he's been so well put together on all of his interviews.
You know what? His heart is in the right place, and I think that's all that matters. Is when you hear from him, when you hear him like just talk, like this, you hear where he's coming from. He wants the best. It's nothing, he's bombastic, he's loud, he's a character, but it's the fact that he's truly passionate about this movement, and he really truly wants the best for all Albertans. And that's where like I got to give the guy a tip of the hat, because like I said, I've had words with him and stuff like that too, but it just seeing that level of enthusiasm and seeing that, that's the kind of guy that we need to say, hey, like, this is wrong. This is what we're doing. We're going to do it to the best of our abilities, and we're going to push forward. So like I said, you need more Jeff.
He loves Alberta. There's no question about it. It's with everything he's dealing with, I give him props for continuing on and doing as much as he does. He's a true patriot. I'll get to the super chats we missed, and guys, some of them were kind of answered throughout the show, so we'll highlight those. But I want to get everybody's here. Steve Jensen, I'll be at Pinoca Saturday and Sunday with LTA.
Yeah, so I'll be there too. That's Let's Talk Alberta. They'll have a booth there. If you guys want to come check out me and my wife, we'll be in the vendors area as well throughout the whole stampede. So come say hi, okay?
Great. Freedom Train, $50 super Mount Rathmore and Sir Rath on Alberta's new $1,000 bill. Thank you for all your hard work, Albertans. Appreciate it more than you know. I will pass that on to Jeff after the show. Thank you, Freedom Train. I appreciate that super chat. Raptor guy with the $2 super. Janice Irwin looks like a clone of Kathleen Wynne. Yikes, that's nightmare fuel. Barbie, Alberta, pleasantly surprised to see I got my t-shirt and tank top today. Fits perfectly, feels great on. Can't wait to wear it when I go on my walk next week. I'm very glad to hear you got that. Let's bring that in for anybody who got into the stream late. Just a reminder, folks, tomorrow from the 23rd till the 30th, I was just notified today, our store will be having a 20% off of everything sale starting again tomorrow till the 23rd. You might even be able to get it starting later this evening. I know because they run on a different time frame than we do, so sometimes it rolls over before midnight. But from the 23rd to the 30th, 20% off of everything in the store. Go and grab any of our items, particularly the Alberta First Send the Message human billboard t-shirts with the 10 reasons, again, Albertans would benefit leaving Canada. We'll try and get number 11 with Jeff won't run for office on the back of that. So we'll call it a version 2.0, but go and grab it. Look, they've even got it, and I keep bringing it up, the amazing Alberta Blue. I love it. Go and grab those, guys. I'll be shilling it all week so that you guys know in our videos and everything else that where to get them and that they're on sale as well. And all proceeds are going to the referendum effort as well. We're not taking profits for anybody who's unaware of that pitch. Matt coming in, question: if the stay is overturned and the signatures are verified, do you think Two-Face Danielle will make October 19th a binding question in accordance via the Clarity Act? No. And I think Jeff kind of touched on that when we were going through. So that's the only reason I didn't bring that one up. Unknown being a member for 1 month. Thanks to whoever gave me the membership. I truly appreciate it. I love this community. I can't wait until Alberta and the United States work together. You and me both. Thank you so much. I'm glad. Welcome to the Patriots Club. We've got Dutchie slapping it down like always. Jeez, Dutchie. Just a donation to the cause. Love my fellow Albertans. We are and always have been, even the backbone of this country since we were forced into this mess. I had a dream, and it was an independent Alberta. You almost sound like Martin Luther King there. I had a dream that one day Alberta will be prosperous and free of Canada. What we got here? Alberta supplies about 60% of U.S. heavy oil stock. We do. Thank you for the $2 super Steve, we got Snow coming in with $5. My internet is loading, but just remember near the end of the interview with you, Derek, Smith said she gets her mandate from Mark and Albertans. Yeah, no, she put Mark first. Always puts Mark first. Don't you know how that works? Dutchie, another $140 super for freedom. Well, there you go. Both of those are going towards the referendum effort. So thank you for those, Dutchie. Lots of donations going to the referendum effort tonight. So thank you for that. Real Steve Jensen Chiller. He's like the Donald Trump of the free Alberta. He's wonderful, you know. I know a lot of lawyers. I've been kept out of jail many times, but none quite like Jeff Rath. You know, I ran into a viewer in Sundry on the weekend who said, I'm going to give you some constructive criticism. And I said, okay. He said, do you need to do the Trump? It's kind of getting old.
No.
And I said, well, he goes, it's just so, he says, it's not even good. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why you don't like Donald. Okay. I like doing Donald. A lot of people in the chat, they love when we do Donald Trump. Look at Sean over here. I love the Trump. We love it.
There you go.
Yeah. Everybody loves the Trump. It's not stopping. Don't worry, guys. It ain't going anywhere. Let's get to the things we didn't get to earlier. I'll try and hammer out what I've got as quick as possible.
I got some stuff too.
Okay. We don't want to go too much into overtime. Did you guys see this? If you haven't completed your census yet, Ring doorbell camera. In fact, here, let me just double check that the sound is on this. A Ring doorbell camera captured a guy in Alberta. I'm assuming it's Calgary. Coming over to check census. I could be wrong. So if somebody knows what city this is in or town, don't quote me, but I was told it was Calgary. He comes and he just gives it to a guy for not doing the census. I love how the guy tells him when he says, why didn't you fill out your census? He says, none of your damn business. Here we go. Check it out, guys. It's great. Oh, why isn't it playing? Here we go.
Look at that beautiful flag.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Blake. I'm working with Statistics Canada to conduct the 2026 census, and I'm just here because it looks like we have not received the questionnaire back for this address. Is there a reason why not? Yep. Why is that? All right. Well, you do realize it is a legal requirement. You will be required to complete it one way or another.
Yep. I'll do it though. I'll take the fine if it comes to me.
All right. Glad you got $1,000 to waste. Dumbass.
Okay, so right there. Okay, now it goes past here. We're going to show the rest, but there it is where he says, can I ask why? He says, none of your damn business. He goes, well, I'm glad you have, he says, we'll take the fine if it comes to it. And then he says, well, I'm glad you have $1,000 to waste. And then as he's walking away, he goes, dumbass. Because of course, the guy who can't grow a mustache, who looks like the poster child for a bad Tinder date, he's walking away like a big tough guy after mouthing this guy off. Now watch what happens.
Excuse me?
Oh, I don't mean it.
You realize you're on camera, right?
You realize I don't care.
Good answer.
You realize I don't care, then F you too, and walks away. This is a government employee. This is a guy hired by the government to come to your house. And he's a bad grinder date. There you go. I would happily take the fine. I'm anxious if they're going to come to my door because we haven't done the same. We haven't got harassed yet. I've gotten a couple letters.
Oh, you're getting harassed. They're gonna send a whole team to the fringe.
I can't wait. I can't wait for them to come to my door. It's going to be
Excuse
so
me, but
wonderful.
I think the sprinklers need to come on or something.
Oh, geez, you guys, you got here just in time. Just in time. I was just about to let my dog outside. He's got to pee really bad. Let me see here. Oh, I know a lot of people were yelling about this. We didn't cover this yet. People were asking about it at the beginning of the stream. Mark Carney caught on a hot mic today. For anybody who missed this.
Yeah, I didn't see this.
So Mark Carney, again, we all know about his illegal floor crossings, his carrot on the stick to get people to cross. This is what he thinks of them. I would tell you, anybody who crossed the floor right now should just leave. They should just step away from politics, stand down, whatever you got to do, because I doubt you can cross the floor back. But here, now listen, because it's kind of in the distance. It comes real quick when they get in the room. But you can hear Mark Carney say those MPs are only useful for votes. Take a look.
You just have MPs and they're useful for votes. No, but you have more or less political system. We have exactly. Yeah. So you need yeah. And same with all the cabinet members, exactly.
Flips and the same with all the cabinet members. And he gets this guy kind of, you could tell. Now this was what was he? He was the PM.
Croatian.
He was a Croatian PM, and you could tell like he knows the cameras just walked in. Right, so he kind of changes the subject real quick, and you see Mark Carney all of a sudden. Oh yeah, the cabinet members too. Oh yeah, let's move on. Like, how can you work for a guy like this? You've seen Northern Perspective talking about reports that he berates his caucus.
Yeah,
right. Like he treats them like absolute shit.
He's a bully. What do you expect?
Yeah, and now he's in there saying that they're just good for votes. They're just butts in chairs. Really? Really?
Well, that shows he's got his own agenda. He doesn't care about Canada. He doesn't. I mean, he was in Ireland talking about how he was so glad to be home. Like I said, he has no interest in us whatsoever. And right now, quite frankly, he's the best salesman for the entire independence movement. You literally elected a guy that doesn't give two absolute shits about this country except how it could benefit him and Brookfield and these globalist pals. You know that.
He's literally here for Brookfield. That's it. And he's made that known. Just they're good for votes. They're good. And Greg says it should go viral. It did. It went stupidly viral. In fact, as soon as it dropped, I saw this posted account after account after account all over X. And unfortunately, like we already put out our video for today when that dropped. I mean, look at Society Unveiled. Whoops. And he, by the way, had a really good video about the guy on the Ring doorbell. Where is it? Right here. He had a really good video on this. A shout out to Society Unveiled. He said he looks like the Shermanator from American Pie. I thought that was a great joke. Go check out Society Unveiled's video over on YouTube. That was a good one. But this guy can't go fast enough. Like Starmer stepped down. I hope this guy's next. I really hope. I really hope he's next. I did mention we were going to talk about this earlier. Real briefly, I want to show this because Alberta Radio, I hope he's still in the stream so he knows that we're sharing this, was talking a little bit about what's happened with Elections Alberta, how he believes it's compromised. I'm going to play this and then we're going to get into what Mike's got. I don't think I'll have to play the entire 3.5 minutes. Let me just skip forward a bit. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Official complaint to Elections Alberta asking why Naheed Nenshi was lying about his constituency office and saying it was located at Rachel Notley's old office. Now, we went to that place where Naheed was telling for almost an entire year that his office was located over by 80th Avenue, just off 104, and it wasn't there. When we went there, there was nobody, there was no signage, there was nobody in the office. So what I did is I filed a complaint to Elections Alberta asking why this is allowed, where leaders of the NDP or the leader of the NDP, Naheed Nenshi, is allowed to lie to the public. So what Elections Alberta did was they took my complaint and then turned around and rejected it, telling me that it's not their problem, that I should report it to the Speaker of the House of the Legislative Assembly. And I did that. And nobody did a thing. This morning, I go out to do the deliveries for our orders for shirts and bumper stickers. And lo and behold, Naheed Nenshi's all of a sudden mysteriously open at the location that I complained about. So, you know, I'm really starting to see some compromised issues regarding Elections Alberta. So it brings me to the recent stuff about the third-party advertisers. Why did Lukasik get the opportunity to get almost an entire month ahead of everybody else? He should be disqualified as a TPA. He shouldn't even be allowed to participate because he didn't follow the rules and he broke the rules. And yet Elections Alberta's left-wing activists allowed him to be a registered TPA after breaking the rules. So it seems that Elections Alberta is letting all this left-wing issues slide. But if on our side, on our side of things, we do anything out of joint, we're penalized, fined, we're picked on, they come after us, they target us. So I'm asking somebody to do something. I don't know what we can do about this, but election.
So he's got a very good point here. You know, they're allowed to essentially do anything. And I saw Derek brought it up here. Is there a requirement to have an office? Well, here's the issue with Naheed Nenshi. So Nenshi was the mayor of Calgary before becoming leader of the opposition to the NDP. He had to have, for his riding, he had to have a residence in Edmonton, and he had to have a campaign office in Edmonton. Yet he voted in the last Calgary municipal election, which you need an address for. So people are saying, well, if you don't live in Edmonton, then why did you have a riding in Edmonton? Your riding office isn't there. Sounds like an illegal operation. That's the problem, is there seems to be no standard set against those who are on the NDP, those who are on the left, those like Lakasik who get their TPAs excused from distributing materials without having a third-party advertising license. Yet, again, you look at Centurion, you look at the things that happen on our end, which weren't even affiliated with APP or any of those guys, and it's shut them down, fine them, get the RCMP involved, launch investigations, get Danielle Smith to shut the whole referendum down. Nothing for these guys, not even a squeak. That's the problem. That's the big problem.
Crazy.
And nothing will happen.
No.
Nothing will happen. Really sad to see. Mike, what do you got left on the list?
Do you want to crush these super chats first?
Sure. We can get to those.
Yeah. Let's get
Real Steve Jensen, keep the Trump with the $2. It's not. Listen, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, it's sticking around. It's going to be here for a long time. You guys are going to love it. Tony Shaw coming in with $100 from my mother. She likes and listens to your show every night. I'm very flattered by that. Tony, thank you for the amazing $100 super chat. Seal Clubber with a $2. Big Brother's coming for you. Fired for that. I guess.
we're gonna keep doing to the show until they kick us off.
We'll keep doing it until they do. Panina with $2. More cowbell, please. Oh, you guys in the cowbell.
Fiends.
Where is it?
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
I'm going to start putting that behind a donation paywall saying that we're going to donate to charity if you guys want the cowbell.
Yeah, I got a little bit of stuff.
Can you please start using the 80 plus in age and slow down of Donald Trump? I don't know what.
Well, because he's turned 80, so kind of slow it down because he's getting old.
Oh, because he's getting old. Oh, right. Okay.
The Joe Biden, the Trump, essentially.
Yeah, no, we don't. No, Trump's sharp as a tack. I passed my cognitive test. I got through it. Let's go, Mike. What do you got?
Best score
out of any sitting president. I got to tell you, it was wonderful. I did so amazing. I was able to tell people what color blue was. I was able to point out an airplane. It was wonderful. I got through it. I can still be the president.
Exactly. Yeah, a couple of things. If you guys didn't think we lived in a banana republic, did you see this? Okay, this is from National Post. Quebec town officially recognizes trees as sentient living beings with their own rights.
Whoa. And that was National Post, not the National Roast.
Yeah, exactly. That's legit. So I had to break it down. Yes, a small town in Quebec municipality of Thérèse-Valdroy, west of Montreal, population 2,000 people, officially did this. On June 9, 2026, the town council unanimously adopted a resolution recognizing trees as living beings worthy of protection, including the right to life, natural growth, integrity, and regeneration.
I don't drink, but I'm thinking about taking it up.
This is the first municipality in Quebec and Canada to sign the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Tree, an international initiative. Some headlines and the declaration itself describes trees as sentient living beings within their own rights. Welcome to Canada.
Who says I'm gay?
You are gay.
I had to.
No, it's gay. It's gay. We're bringing it back, people. Speaking of that, did you see Lukaszik's new TPA? So glad that he actually did it, and now he falls under all the rights and the scrutineers. And I mean, I'm loving what's happening this week. Tons more TPAs. We'll get into that in a second. So yeah, they went with the name Forever Canada Citizen Initiative Society. It sounds like a cult. I've been going nuts about this last night. I'm like, it sounds like one of those weird rich people cults that meet at the Magic Cabin, out into the woods. Weird. I had to make a meme of it right here. Elbows up and always purring. like around the effigy of the maple leaf. This is the vibes I go to with this place. I mean, at the end of the day, he's right now cruising around in his weird 1980s Winnebago doing creepy 4 a.m. TikTok videos, which is all reminiscent of like a shitty 80s horror movie. Like, I watch a lot of 80s horror movies. Thank you to my Tubi subscription. And I feel bad for my wife because I'm one of those weird people. Like, the second my head hits the pillow, I pass out. So it's sad because it takes me like a month to watch a movie because I keep having to go back. So my poor wife has to watch the same scenes over and over and over again before I go to bed. So tip of the hat to her. But there's better scripts of some of these really terrible B movies in the 80s for like horror serial killers. And then you've got this guy, like I said, cruising around the province in his 1980s Winnebago, weird, creepy TikTok videos with no pants on at 4 o'clock in the morning. It gives me the willies.
And the Unity bus is just purring.
You should get a jacket made of those drapes.
Oh no.
The stories they could tell.
I wouldn't want those stories. That's nightmare fuel.
But yeah, speaking of TPAs, man, we saw a new one got created too. I mean, there was Keith Wilson started his, and this one, United Alberta Flags. So this is John Tomkinson. I know you spoke to him, and it's creating one just about getting flags out. So if you guys want to go check it out, it's UnitedAlbertaFlags.com. You guys can go there, check out what they're about, and their main goal is to literally paint the province blue with beautiful Alberta flags. Love the initiative. Good for him. Tip of the hat. What else we got? Oh, yeah. Speaking of the sundry parade that you guys did, the El Bozos completely lost their mind when again, amazing Albert and his wife. God bless you, Al, for putting. I know you watched the show for doing the work and putting it out there and organizing the event. It went out without a hitch. Derek, I know you were there. John Bolton was there. Everybody went down there. Sorry, I couldn't make it, but it was an absolute banger. But they literally sat there and they assumed that we were terrorists and that we were essentially attacking the town, even though the whole town came out in support. Every business was full. All the restaurants were full. It was a wonderful thing to see, to support a small town that got screwed and brought into politics and all that. So and finally, Luke Hazek's craziness about Keir Starmer. Okay, this hit today. So Luke Hazek literally made a post that Alberta's having a glimpse into our future. So I say essentially Luke Hazek is would blame Brexit and not mass immigration, censorship, and the fall of like social cohesion and what's happening in the UK right now on the elimination of Starmer. So he's trying to say that, him stepping down was because of Brexit and, the UK's independence movement over all the other stuff that you guys see, the mass immigration, the street fights, the riots, all that stuff. So that's where they're just like grasping at straws right here, lay them out, because it's just sad to see. They have nothing.
Unreal.
They literally have nothing.
Unreal. Well, they call us Terrys.
Yeah. No, they call us Terrys and Seppies, whatever you want to call us. I mean,
Let me ask you. Does this look like a group of Terrys? Does this look like a group of terrorists, folks?
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean,
wonderful. Look how John
Jason
Bolton,
Levine
on that.
Jason Levine looks a little bit like a terrorist. I'm not gonna lie. He's a sketchy dude. But no, I'm joking.
I'm starting to, John Bolton, great guy. I'm starting to think he's a bit of I don't want to know what level he's at to unleash the vampire perk. Because watching his videos, like, hi, it's John. It's 3:02 in the morning. I'm on my third cup of coffee, and I'm going to tell you about Alberta independence. I'm like, People,
you got to do it right. Hi, it's John, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm wired and ready to go. Let's talk about Alberta independence.
I don't know where he gets the energy.
Mug.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I slept late in today. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm like, the hell is wrong with this guy? Love it. Love the energy. Love the guy. But like I said, I don't know what level he's at to unlock the vampirism perk. But I would love to have it. I would be so much more productive.
We had a good laugh at the joke about that when we were when I made the joke about it on Friday. You know, it's funny. I got a lot of flack for wearing this outfit, even though like I wore matching shorts with this shirt. Like it's all one outfit, like same pattern. And people said that I was wearing curtains or something when I went there. And I said, I wear wacky clothes. That's my whole MO. That's my thing. Somebody said it on the stream tonight. I'm happy to see you wearing normal clothes. Mike, you've seen me. Outside of making videos, I wear shit like this all the time.
You have a collection of 1980s Transformers jerseys. Like you're the only guy I know who dresses like that. It's you know what? It's your thing. You know, God bless. I love it, and it's just. I mean, it looks very breathable. Looks very comfortable. Sometimes I'm a little jealous.
I'll give it that. Speaking of Lukasik, I do want to show this really quick before we wrap things up, because if you really want something to really paint the mood for the Forever Canada petition, I posted this on X because I found this video. This lady doesn't realize the damage she did with what she said. She starts screaming about how she's a proud Canadian puppet. Take a look. Take a look.
You got sound? No sound. No sound.
There's no sound?
No.
Is there really no sound? Did I ruin it with no sound? Oh, come on. We can't do that. We can't have that.
Just, look it up. Look at it. It's too.
So how do you say you're a puppet? Like you're literally calling yourself a puppet for Canada. And here we go. Let's do it again.
I'm a proud Canadian and we need to stop this silly referendum.
Okay, now I have to get past where the music is. I mean, they've got Lukasik and his 3 people who have signs. And then he says, we got to get him a button.
You know what? We got to give him a button.
Oh, I'm so honored. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Mr. Lukasik. I'm a proud Canadian puppet.
Yes, you certainly are.
It's so cringe. Just the voice, just the screaming.
Oh my God.
It's too funny. It's too funny.
If I was Tom Lukasik, I'd be like, can you pull that, please? We're not saying we're puppets. Like,
delete the tape. Delete the tape.
Oh, it's so awesome. Yeah, and meanwhile, Tom Lukasik handing out buttons, and he only has one message when he's there.
Give me your fucking money.
It's just exactly. And while he purrs, he's purring around the town in his 1980s Winnebago.
Yep.
I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. I can't. It's just, I mean, this is the best you guys got. We got Jeff coming on here telling him how much better it's going to be for the Aboriginal, how much better it's going to be for the people of Alberta, going into the tax law, saying how it's going to happen. You got Keith Wilson's new TPA going absolutely on fire, which we're going to cover about him getting banned, and the beautiful work that, like, I'm so glad he's teamed up with Tanya. And
we do have to talk about that, don't we?
Yeah, we have to talk about it. Because
do you have that pulled up, or do you need me to grab it?
No, I need you to grab it. But essentially, after the press conference, that the left, for some reason, they always find a reason to go, and they attack Tamara on it. And then following after that, I mean, it was so nice to see he had tons of support. The X views of going up, the videos are coming out. He's now devoted his entire attention to this. They got the white paper coming out. This is the stuff we really needed to be able to bring the people, like he says, that are on the fence, the people on the other side, to say, hey, we're not this isn't a fringe minority. This is a very thoughtful, this is a well executed plan. Beautiful stuff.
Here's a John Alberta Patriot, which I got a bone to pick with him, by the way. He brought out a tweet saying all these amazing channels to follow. And he didn't have the fringe listed in there. He said pro Alberta independence channels, didn't have the fringe in there. And he said, sorry, I made it quickly. I forgot. I'll show it to you in a sec. But here you've got Let Alberta Decide, which is Keith Wilson's and Tanya Clemens' new TPA. Brand new third-party advertiser supporting Alberta independence launches his Instagram page. Day one, mass reports page removed. So the same thing happened to Igor Reitzliff. He had a huge Instagram account, a couple 100,000 followers, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden it was
it was like 70,000 or something like that on Instagram. I know his
I thought it was more than
that. Yeah, his YouTube channel is the big hitter. But he had like 70,000 followers, and then same thing, mass reporting got him shut down. And it was a collective effort because the guy, like I said, Keith, this movement is so well thought. It's so broad. It's, they've crossed their T's, they dotted their I's. Igor is such a threat because he's got the immigrant community, he's got the Ukrainian community.
Yes.
And they see him as a massive threat because here's a guy that came here, realized like, no, I don't like the way this country's going. It reminds me of back home, and he's like, we need Alberta independence. His wife's an immigrant. So, I mean, he's a very big voice and that we need to follow because, like I said, very opinionated, really awesome dude.
Yep. Well, so John goes on to say, think about that. If your response to a political opponent is try to get them silenced before they can even speak, you're not defending democracy. You're afraid of it. Let Albertans hear both sides and decide for themselves. The fact that Canadians would rather shut down debate than participate in it is exactly why so many Albertans are questioning their future in Canada. This is what I was saying about the title of the stream, folks. They're freaking terrified of us. Canada did not see this coming. They're scared. They're literally scared.
I honestly did not think this was going to be. Corey talks about it all the time. I didn't think this was going to be as successful as a campaign. And what's happening now is with the TPAs, and Corey brought it up on his live stream, that there's never been a situation like this in history where an entire grassroots movement has decided to step up and say, we're done with the federal government. We're going to get the hell out of here. And by doing the TPA, so I suggest you guys go on the Elections Alberta website, look under TPAs, check out all the websites, figure out where you guys want to throw your cash to, because, if anything under $50 doesn't have to get tracked. So if you want to throw $50 here, $20 here, $20 here, and help the different TPAs, I mean, that's how we're going to do it, because we're going to be able to spread the wealth. One group gets attacked, everyone just pivots to someone else. It is wonderful. They're gonna write university theses about this once this is done.
Yeah, absolutely. Mile High Mopar with the $2. I identify as Block Redneckwa, aka Albertan. I love that. Ravenwolf with $5. Much love, everyone. Y'all are my heroes. Never give up, never surrender. Alberta strong. Absolutely. That we're gonna keep it that way.
I met Ravenwolf actually. I met him at ex Army guy actually. We served at the same unit together. Cheers, brother.
Well, thank you for your service. Steve Jensen, $5 super, has been so successful because we left the politicians out of the movement. And that's where I've always been saying that even if Danielle could have sat on the side of independence, did we really want her to? It kind of taints it a little bit, almost like how you see it tainting the remaining Canada side by her joining the rest of them. There's no benefit. This has to be grassroots. We will get it over the finish line. Us, the TPAs, APP, the organizers, the Albertans, all the canvassers who volunteered. Again, all of us Albertans, grassroots. We get this done, not the government. We want to get away from the government, right? What's a TPA? Says Davey. It's a third-party advertiser.
Yeah.
Third-party advertiser. Too many people think Keith's announcement is a provincial party to split votes. Let everyone know what it's all about. It's a third-party advertiser. So what Keith is doing with Let Alberta Decide, he's releasing his white paper, which is coming out mid-July. The white paper is essentially there to answer the questions the soft middle have on what happens to pensions, what about military, what about passports, what about borders, what about negotiations, the provincial parks, all that stuff. It's to give people a little more clarity on the benefits of why they're safe to vote for independence and why it's beneficial at the same time. Alongside his third-party organization, which is Let Alberta Decide, they're wanting to run ads, they're wanting to do different billboards, different social media ads, things like that. And they have to be registered as a third-party advertiser in order to do that. Keith Wilson is not forming a political party, at least as of yet. That would be news to me. But what he is forming is another voice on the field. We've often said for people that what you have to remember about third-party advertisers is there's a $600,000 cap to how much you can actually raise, what you can use for advertising. Now, if everybody went under, let's say, Alberta Prosperity Project and said, let's make that the main TPA, well, we'd be capped out at $600,000, right? The government is campaigning against us with unlimited funds. There's no cap on what they can do. So it's kind of like forming our own little Hydra. You know, with all these lefties, you see them shutting down Let Alberta Decide just on Instagram. You cut off one head, 10 more emerge. You've got TPAs forming all the time now, trying to get out there, trying to make sure they all get funding so that they can get the branding, the messaging out there. At the end of the day, folks, I don't care who's behind whichever third-party organization, as long as it's to get the information out for the vote on October 19th, we're all on the same team. So that's kind of the way we see it.
Yeah, and seeing everybody take different avenues, you know, you got so the thing a lot of people don't realize about this white paper is Keith has assembled experts from across every kind of branch, aviation experts, military experts, constitutional experts, resource development experts, people, former government members. Like, these are the experts, like professors and doctors and all this, to come in here and write this. This is getting looked at by some of the best minds. Also, before I get into that, yes, wrong Ravenwolf. It was Raven something. I'm sorry, man, I forgot your handle. I'm 33, but declined. I'll be there to fight for Alberta. God bless you,
well,
sir.
we appreciate you nonetheless.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for your super chat. Yeah, no, I feel bad. It is what it is. But like I said, the white paper is going to be that tool that everyone's going to be able to have on the same page. So I recommend, once it released, everybody, if you're curious, read it, look into it, and then that way you guys will have talking points when you try to go, when someone asks you these questions. It's so that everybody can read it and everybody can get on the same page. And that way, if someone comes like, oh, what about my pension? What about my health care? What about this? You guys can sit there and be like, okay, paragraph 4, page 3. There's your answer. I'm so excited for it. It's gonna crush like any of the points that the other side has against this, that they try to come up with the lies and we want to do this and you'll lose this and you'll lose this. It'll be our rebuttal to it. And of course, it's just going to bring more people over to our side.
Yep. And I think we're well on our way. In fact, folks, you'll know, what was it? Just about a month and a half ago ish. I mean, we all thought we were defeated. We thought this was all it because we hadn't seen anything come forward. We had our big meeting with all the other influencers and said, what do we got to do? How do we get moving? The next day, Corey Morgan had CoreyMorgan.com set up to run as a third-party advertiser. Jason Levine was up and running with his third-party advertiser. This was just it. Jeff and Mitch were doing their thing. And we said, okay, so we've been behind them this whole way. Get behind us for a little while. We'll show you what we can do as this grassroots movement. And I think now we've relit that fire pretty darn good over the last, 40 or 45 days, getting everybody motivated that we're winning this battle. We're winning this fight. Keith Wilson entering the fray is just one large juggernaut in this already teeming sea of influencers and third-party organizations prepared to help get Alberta over the finish line. I think things are looking up for October.
You know what? I talked to Jason at the sign handout this week. I got to say, the idea to have that stream where we had all the influencers and everybody in on it, I think that was like that lit the fire that start this TPA push. Because I was talking to Corey Morgan, he's like he looked into it and he started going his direction. It's like, we're not waiting for everybody else. We're just gonna go. We're just gonna jump the gate. And I tip of the hat to everybody do this. As it also says, if you guys have an organization or got people and you guys want to take an avenue and you guys want to start planning, information sessions or something like that, there's nothing stopping you. Go on Elections Alberta, read the rules. You can start up your own TPA and you're like, hey, we want to focus on one thing. I was trying to say, like, Al Burton, if he wanted to create a TPA for the convoys, I mean, I'm sure people would donate a few bucks to pay for some gas.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how we're going to win this, people.
I wanted to highlight this because Fashiza says, I'll be donating what I can. Aish is the limiting factor in this, but I'll be doing what I can. So this breaks my heart because I see people say this all the time. I'm financially strapped. How can I help? Tell you how you can help. It doesn't even involve money. Go out and talk to your neighbors, your coworkers, whoever, and don't go in and say, hey, do you want to vote for independence? Just go ask them, how are things going? How's your life? What do you think about this vote coming up on October 19th? And talk to them a little bit about their living situation. Maybe slowly just insert little things into, I think that if we send a message to Ottawa, I think at least it might put Alberta in a better position to start being taken seriously. And maybe things like AISH, like programs that we're reliant on could get better funding into the province from the federal government. You know, things like that. Those are easy ways to help alongside if you can't support financially. A lot of people aren't in the position to help financially. What you can do is make sure that each of you get at least 1 to 3 people to come out on election day and vote in favor of moving forward with a referendum. If they weren't on the side of already choosing that, that's the greatest thing you can do. And for those who don't want to do that,
do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Doug Weber with the $10 super. One good talking point is the fact that UK-aligned countries are dropping the same censorship bills at exactly the same time, doing the same immigration policies. Questionable. Yeah, we ran a video about that over the weekend. Thank you to everybody who checked that out, by the way. Very successful video. Finally, one that didn't get completely submerged on YouTube. Guys, we're going to wrap it up at that point because, God, we're over 2 hours at this point. We're way over
Crushing
the
it.
line. I want to thank everybody for the likes. I've told you guys, I can't do giveaways every single show, but I'll tell you, I will do a giveaway this week when we can because of the likes. You guys really came through tonight. So I want to thank everybody who did that. Again, we'll be donating all super chats tonight toward the referendum effort in lieu of not doing a giveaway tonight. So thank you to everybody who did that, everybody who participated. Thank you for everybody who just came and watched the show. You guys are doing great things for this community. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And then join me tomorrow. There is going to be more great content coming out your way throughout the week. Join us Wednesday and Friday for our live shows. They're going to be wonderful. They're going to be wonderful live shows. A lot of things to talk about this week. You guys are going to have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Hopefully I see you guys at the Ponoka Stampede. So come say hi.
If you're at the Ponoka Stampede or the area, head over to the is it the Calendars That Curse booth, or did you guys?
Yeah, no, it's
okay.
Calendars
I didn't know if you were running under a different name. Go check out Calendars That Curse. Sherry's got a fantastic business. New calendar done by in collaboration with yours truly. You guys want to go pick that up? It's got a lot of funny images of Mark Carney on there. They've got a plethora of amazing things as well. So go check them out. Check out all the vendors at the Ponoka Stampede if you get a chance, because these are guys just trying to exist outside of the corporate world, folks. Give them your support. They count on it. They depend on it.
And like the show, share the show, talk about the show with your friends, because at the end of the day, this is how we're going to win hearts and minds.
Yes, sending this stuff out on your socials is the best help you can give this channel. From Mike, myself, everybody at Unacceptable Fringe, folks, have a wonderful night. Thank you for coming by. Take care of yourselves. We'll catch you on the next one.